Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if neglected son of Grayfia in high school DxD. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Ronin2106 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Occult Research Club. Rias Gremory, heiress to the House of Gremory, one of the most beautiful young ladies of Ko Academy and Underworld itself, Scion her house, was currently having a not very pleasant conversation with her older brother, current Lucifer, Surzex Lucifer, along with her father, Zeoticus Gremory. And to say that this was a talk she didn't want it to have, would be a huge understatement, for they were discussing Rias' status as a governor of Ko. Right by her side were the members of her peerage, Akino Haimajima, Kaneko Tuju and Yudo Kiba, who were also listening to this discussion and answering the questions if they were asked to. Apparently someone from the Devil Society has been spreading rumors about Rias' way of governing Ko and how lax and irresponsible she was at, leading to some older devils questioning her and her family about the decision of putting her in charge of that area. There were even talks about removing her from the said position and handing this region to someone with far more experience and responsibility, which was something that Rias, and her friend Sona Citri, wanted. They were perfectly fine with the way they were handling things here, and having someone of the higher-ups poking nose into their dealings would ruin their little personal kingdom they've set up here. Zeoticus and Surzex also didn't wanted that, not just because they knew it would upset their dear Rias, but also because it could undermine the position of House of Gremory in Devil-S society. And if the new ruler would be set here, then it most certainly would be someone from the powerful and controlling clan, like Belial or Baal, which wasn't something that they all would like to have. And so, Rias spoke to her father. Let me get this straight. I am not handing over the government of this town to anyone. Rias stated firmly. I don't know who spreads those rumors, but I am sure this is all done to undermine my position. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Rias' doing or someone of his house. Rias was actually seriously considering it to be a plot of her future fiancé, for he was pressing the matter more and more each day. Rias, please refrain from accusations without any solid proof on hand. Zeoticus recommended his daughter. We are already in a complicated situation because of these rumors, accusing respectable members of other houses, plus your own fiancé would only serve to further complicate the matter and undermine our position. I and your mother would prefer to settle this without any further difficulties and complications, and I believe you as well would like to avoid this. And how do you propose we deal with this mess? Make a public statement? Rias asked Sirius. That would be pointless. Surzex spoke up. The rumors are circulating not in the common masses, but in higher society, among the houses and its members. Simple public speech would only confirm the suspicions of all the other houses. To put these rumors to rest, they require solid proof of efficiency of your government. Then we must give them this proof. Rias said. I could send out my reports or have Akino attest, along with Sona. I am sure she and Sabaki would vouch for me, if I asked them to do so. We are ready to speak up if needed. Akino supported the idea. Kiba and Kaneko are also ready to stand up for our king. The two nodded to that. Sweetheart, this would be pointless, because having members of your peerage speaking out in your defense would only serve to further undermine your position, because it is peerage's responsibility to protect their king and uphold their position. Zeoticus explained, turning to Rias' peerage. I appreciate your loyalty to Rias and our house, but this isn't something you can solve yourselves. Fortunately, there is a solution that we have managed to come up with that will settle these rumors for good. What kind of a solution you are talking about, father? Rias questioned. Heads of the houses and their members respect the word of those certain individuals that have a considerable weight in all that they say and do. Surzex reminded Rias one of the fundamental lessons about Devil Society. As such, if a high-class devil, not associated with Ko and your government of this area, would observe and provide his word as the necessary proof that everything is alright in your area, then those that spread those rumors will have to shut up. And for these reasons, along with several other important factors, as Great King Lucifer, with permission from Seraphal and approval of the council, I have assigned an official observer to this area for the next 4 weeks. You are to provide him any requested documents or proof that he might need. That's an entire month. I don't want some middle-aged nobleman breathing down my neck and telling me just how he and his clan would run things here. Rias protested, sighing. Careful, Rias. Grayfia, Seraphal and Ajuka, not mention I personally, trust him with our lives. Surzex warned her with serious demeanor, getting Rias and her queen's attention. Not to mention that he is also the only devil to have lived in Kyoto with yokais for 15 years already and is engaged to Yasaka's daughter, Kuna. Surzex said with a bit of smile and gleam in his face, seeing as Rias' eyes have widened. No, you can be serious, Rias said with not believing voice. Oh yes, I am. Surzex's smile grew larger. Corvus is coming to Ko. I am sure that he will be arriving shortly, after he settles things with Yasaka and his lovely bride. You know how much he loves Kunu, and when I first asked him of this favor, he actually refused because of her, but I've managed to convince him, though barely. He can be just as stubborn as his mother, my son, can't he? Rias' worst fear came to be a reality. She most certainly did not want this to happen, but now it was happening. Any other option, in Rias' opinion, would be better than he, even Riser, for Rias knew how to handle her fiancé, at least for a little duration of a time, but Corvinus Gremory, older son of Serzex Lucifer and Grayfia Lucifuge, older brother to Milicas Gremory, her nephew and a former heir to the house of Gremory, was coming to basically serve as her overseer. Known as Corvus Bloodraven Gremory to the most, he is nothing like most of today's high-class devils in many different ways, and that's not just because of him being a son to the strongest devil in existence and the strongest queen. Born 21 years ago, Corvus was the original heir of Gremory, but he was deprived of such status, after Rias' birth 4 years later, by the decision made by her father and mother. The main reason for his subsequent removal was his apparent lack of magical abilities and the fact that he inherited power of destruction from his father, like he did from their mother. Because of that, he was considered to be a failure as a devil and removed from the line of succession completely, despite the fact that it actually worsened relations between Venelana, Rias' mother, and Grayfia, Corvus' mother, as Grayfia seriously considered it to be Venelana's affair, for she, as a former Baal, saw in Corvus a failure and used it to make Rias an heiress. After that, Corvus was seemingly removed from the spotlight of nobility, but that didn't mean that he lost the love of his parents, not even after he willingly decided to stay in Kyoto. When he was 6 years old, members of Old Satan faction have managed to kidnap Corvinus and they brought him into Kyoto, where they believed they would be safe from Serzex and Grayfia's wrath, until they would get what they wanted from Crimson Satan. However, what they didn't account for was Yukai faction of Kyoto, which quickly detected the presence of devils and quickly eliminated them from the face of the earth, rescuing Corvinus and brining him to Yasaka and Shinto gods that were visiting the place. As a jest of goodwill, Serzex and Grayfia were able to immediately inform of Corvus and allowed to take him back home, but due to unknown to Rias reasons, Corvus, with the permission of Serzex and Amaterasu, was allowed to stay in Kyoto, with Yasaka and Kunu. After that, Corvus basically became an outcast of high-class devil society and most of the underworld, for he visited the household 2 or 3 times per year and never stayed for more than a couple of days. And while he was there, he spent most of his time on his own and doing something his own, instead of catching up with grandfather and grandmother and Rias. And he was always really private and secretive about what he was doing and how he was doing in Kyoto, at least, with Rias and her parents. That attitude and the fact that Corvus had almost, if any, no respect or sibling love towards Rias for various reasons, ranging from her being, in his words, a spoiled princess, to the fact that during the announcement of his engagement with Kunu a year ago, Rias made Kunu almost a laughing stock of Devil's society. When Eris decided to tell a couple anecdotes about yukais to some of her friends, thinking that it would make people feel a little more relaxed. That was enough for several high-class devils to pick on Kunu and her mother for them being just animal girls, drooling over handsome men, such as devils. This was enough for Corvus and his fiancée to leave the party, followed shortly by Yasaka and her escort. Soon after that, Rias received an earring from her brother and father, and then followed by Grayfia and her punishment, for she and Serzex were fully in support of their son and his actions. Personally, Rias believed that Corvus had very little to nothing of a true devil in him, for he willingly distanced himself from devil's society, abandoned his lineage as a devil and basically became a puppet of yukais and Shinto gods. Rias didn't even know if he had a peerage, but suspected that he didn't have one, for a betrayer of devil's customs didn't deserve one. Rias couldn't wrap it around. Just how in the world was he someone worthy of 4 great devil kings' respect and trust, especially considering the fact that he was basically an ally to Shinto faction and lived with them for well over 15 years. Why would he be given a position of her observer was beyond Rias. She looked at her brother's hologram and spoke up. Brother, you and I know that Corvus has absolutely no respect or love for me. Rias reminded to Serzex. He'll surely just use his position to sack me and have me removed in a matter of days. Heck, the moment he steps in Ko, he'll just hand this place over back to Shinto gods and Rias! Serzex shouted threateningly directly at his little sister, for the first time, feeling insulted by such words. This attitude of yours and your disrespectful manner to speak about Corvus is something I truly hate to see you display. If anything, my son deserves yours and your peerage's respect, so I suggest you show it to him when he arrives. And if I hear even a hint of you or any members of your peerage disrespecting Corvus or his fiancée in any insulting manner, like at the announcement party, then I'll personally order Grayfia to educate you in proper etiquette and manners. And trust me, not even our mother will save you from this. Serzex warned her with full seriousness. Now, with you informed, this conversation is over. I expect to hear good news soon, Rias, so true your best. Until later. With that said, Serzex disconnected, followed soon by his father. Rias kicked back in her chair and sighed in defeat, understanding that she will now have to deal with one of the few people that she couldn't completely control or manipulate, to any extent. Seeing that, Kiba decided to ask right away. President, do you really think that Corvus would actually use his position to do just that? Rias Knight asked her directly. I mean, he is the firstborn of Serzex, and he has the trust of Satans with him. Wouldn't it be stupid to actually doubt their wisdom? Kiba, it's not really the matter right now. Rias looked at her knight. What really matters is that Corvus is anything but a standard high-class devil. If anything, I know almost nothing about him, save for his apparent love of Kunu, him being discarded as an heir and a bit unorthodox choice in clothing. Aside from that, one thing is absolutely clear to me, is that he doesn't respect me in the slightest, or even like me. Perhaps Cerzex is trying to fix your relations this way? Aquino suggested. He is your brother and loves you dearly, Rias. But he is also Corvus' father and obviously he would love his son. Seeing you two in such poor relations probably makes him sad. Well, if anything, it is Corvus' fault, not mine, Rias stated. He has had more than enough time to actually patch things up between us, but he simply decided not to do so. Probably because he thinks he is better than me, or maybe because I simply didn't give a damn about it. Suddenly, a strong and calm voice came into the room, surprising everyone, including Kaneko, who was munching her snacks just a moment before and now was looking around, like the rest of the group. Has it never occurred to you, Rias, that I had much more important things to take care of, instead of wishing to get your approval? At that moment, Rias rose from her chair and started looking around, until she and the rest of Occult Research Club noticed a red glowing magical circle on ground, but without Gremry's symbol. Instead, it had an emblem of a red raven in the flight. A signature circle of blood raven, from which emerged a person. It was a tall young-looking man, dressed in long black marine coat, ornamented with dark red features on the sleeves and having the same symbol as on the circle on his back. The inside of his coat was red, same as ornaments, while underneath the coat he was dressed in a vest with a white shirt, with white pants, gelled by decorated black belt, and tucked in his black boots. On his sides he had 2 long katanas, with white and black hilts, along with another one, situated on his back, but covered up by a shroud of mystical origin, and on his head was a wide-brimmed black hat, with several long raven feathers on its side and with a unique brim of his hat that actually becomes angular and goes a little down in the front, creating an homage to Raven's beak. And underneath this hat was a face of young, handsome-looking man with steel-white eyes, akin to his mother's short crimson hair, with the bangs on the side, and a face almost completely copying Cerzex, but at the same time having little in common with Rias' features. This man was emitting an aura of respect and dignity, while also showing a seemingly laid-back disposition and having a bit of a cocky smile on his face. Everyone in the room knew this face of Corvinus Bloodraven Gremry. Corvus looked around and spoke up. Well, long time no see. Corvus greeted them all, tipping his hat with a finger upwards a little. Though I would prefer it was longer. Greetings to you as well, Corvinus. Rias decided to play it nice, smiling to him. I hope your trip from Kyoto has been nice. Oh, drop the act, princess, Corvus said with no regards, surprising Rias and the others. After everything that you've said about me to Gramps and Dad just a couple of minutes ago, do you really think that I'll buy into this entire act? Rias and her peerage were completely shocked to hear that he basically heard the entire conversation she just had with her father and brother. She and others couldn't wrap it in their heads, just how in the world was Corvus able to get in here and remain undetected by any of them all this time? Rias quickly regained her composure. I suppose not, although it was worth trying, she reasoned. Being polite is a common trait in most of the civilized races, as you may have heard. I would have thought that priestesses have taught you at least that. She made a snarky remark to him. Yeah, I think I've heard about it, though sincerity is far more valuable, in my opinion. And Yasaka-sama, along with Amaterasu-sama, also value sincerity and truth over false beauty of politeness. Corvus didn't lose his smirk, though I never pictured you to possess either of the two traits, seeing how you prefer to address people without consideration. Corvus answered back, making Rias growl a little. And pardon me if I am wrong, is it normal for civilized girls to sleep completely exposing their dignity and virtue like a certain type of people I've heard so much about? Because if that is the case, then I'll prefer to remain a barbarian, with this obsolete decency and ridiculous modesty. Of all the traits, modesty seems to be the last thing I would associate you with, my dear nephew. Rias wasn't he going to lose? After all, isn't this whole outfit screams of attention, my hawk? That, my dear little auntie, is a phenomenon known as individual style of a person. Corvus answered back with a smirk. Something that does demand attention, but also make man in the eyes of others. In your case, however, it says nothing but one thing to most of the world. Oh, and what would that be? Rias would like to know. No, let me guess. Sophistication? Nope, more like, available for the night. Now Rias really got angry. The only detail missing is a phone number, and you can make a solid living. Enough. How dare you to insult President in such a manner? Kiba was seriously pissed and summoned up his holy eraser, standing in front of Corvus. Well, how would you want me to insult her? I take requests. Corvus didn't even budge, even when holy eraser tip was just 1 centimeter away from his neck. How about her attire looks like something directly out of the sex shop in Tokyo for cosplayers. Her skirt is in the category micro, because mini is too long for it and too modest. Her shirt is about to bust open because of lack modesty and bra on its wearer. Her hair looks so crimson because of the fact that they actually know shame. Does that sound better to you, Prince Charming? Corvus asked Kiba, seeing how he was about to blow with anger, along with Rias. I give you one chance to apologize to my king, because if you don't, I shall strike you with all my righteous fury, and I don't care if you are a son of great King Lucifer himself. Kiba warned Corvus. That is not the way to treat an heiress to the House of Gremory. Really? Corvus made a surprised face and looked around, as if looking for something. Sorry, but could you point me at any heiresses I may be insulted here? Cause the only one I see here is a Prince Charming, aka wannabe Avenger because Excalibur broke my life. A little white mascot kitty cat, a BDSM Miko cosplayer with a couple feathers she is trying to hide, and on top it all off is a high school prima donna with a douchebag of a fiancé, whose ego is bigger than my hat can hold. Care to take a guess whose ego I mean right now? Corvus smirked again, and at that moment, when Kiba heard of the damned Excalibur he snapped. With a roar and scream, he decided to strike down the infidel and he didn't even give a damn that it was Serzek's son. In 1 second, he swung his sword and it went right at his darned throat. Only it didn't reach its target, being stopped by something. And when Kiba looked at what had stopped his holy eraser, his shock and terror knew no bounds, for Corvus Gremory stopped his best sword with the pinky of his left hand, casually moving the hand to the left. Along with the sword, Corvus looked at shocked Kiba and spoke up. Ever heard about a pinky promise, Charming? Corvus asked him. Well, looks like your sword wants to make one with me. Why don't I indulge it? And with that, Corvus' pinky moved to the edge of the blade and he broke the blade when he folded his finger. Ah, now that's a shame. I really wanted to make a pinky promise with him. And now it's broken. Corvus made a sad face, irritating Rias to the end. Are you done? Rias shouted at him, getting a victorious smirk from him. Just how the hell did you do that? You are no Sirorg to break swords like that. Rias, if you think that was me trying to impress you, then you got it all wrong. With that, Corvus moved to the coach and sat in it. That was just me teaching your Prince Charming a lesson. And what lesson was that? Kiba asked him, getting scoff from Corvus. Well, now I am not telling you about it. Corvus proclaimed, surprising everyone. Figure it out yourself, Charming. And while you are doing that, I and your Donna are going to talk business, Bene? And with that, Corvus turned to Rias, while Aquino poured hot tea into his cup. Gracias, at least somebody here has the sense to offer up tea. He took a sip and put it back. Not exactly my favorite flavor, but it'll do. Alright, enough with that. Rias was on edge with Corvus. Corvus, just tell me what the hell do you want? What I want? Corvus asked again. Well, right at the moment, I would like nothing more but to be Kyoto, perform tea ceremony with Kunu and share a nice priceless moment of spiritual and emotional closeness. But he shrugged his shoulders and sipped more tea. I was sent here by my boss and now I have to sit here and observe you and Sona going through your school drama days. I can already feel that this is going to a thrilling experience. Does that mean that you will be enrolling in Co-Academy, Corvus? Aquino asked with her casual smile and curiosity. Because if you do, then I would like to offer my assistance in taking your measurements. Sorry, Miko, but this piece of hard work isn't on the sale. Corvus said, getting a sad sigh from Aquino. And no way I am going to be enrolling in here. I am a little old for this place, anyway. Besides, it's not like I am going to be looking at you make every move. I've got more important business to take care here. Corvus took the last sip and looked seriously at Rias and her peerage, who had the questionable looks on their faces. Judging by the expressions on your faces, you've finally started to understand that I am here not only because of this observation. Rias looked at her nephew and then finally remembered that Serzek has mentioned other important factors involved in sending Corvus into this area. Heiress of Gremory couldn't help but wonder what reasons would compel Corvinus to leave Kyoto and head right here. With a defeated sigh, Rias spoke once more. Alright, cut to the chase already. What are you really doing here, Corvus? Rias asked him directly. Are you here to see if my peerage is strong or did Serzek put you up to guarding this city? Newsflash, Rias, world doesn't move around you. Corvus said with serious tone. I've got no interest in you or your peerage whatsoever and I most certainly have absolutely no desire to become your personal guard dog and watch over you and your servants. I've my own peerage to take care and while I may be residing in Kyoto, that doesn't mean that I am not protecting it. And if rumors are correct then I and my team are doing a pretty good job, compared to you and Sona. You have a peerage? That is something new. Rias said with a chuckle. And just where are your servants? Still in the box that Ajuka hasn't given to you? No, they are on Shikoku, dealing with a cabal of stray devils that has been causing a serious ruckus there, and even attacked a couple of remote villages. Corvus informed Rias, not budging. Should be a piece of cake for them to handle, especially after we've been through in the past couple of years together. Now let us get down to business and I'll be off to talk with Sona, because this is something you both need to know. And what is it? Rias got serious. First of all, this information, under any circumstances, must not leave this room without my say-so. Got it? Corvus saw how the entire group nodded. Good, I do hope that you will keep that promise, because this is a serious matter of politics and diplomacy I will talk about. Now with you all listening I'll start. A week ago, in Kyoto, Lady Yasaka received a letter, meant for her, but addressing me, as a son of great King Lucifer, informing me of a group of fallen angels and stray exorcists acting out of the assigned orders and stirring up problems in this particular area. I've checked the letter and the hand printing of it, which turned out to belong to Azazel, the man who also sent that letter. Why would Azazel, leader of Gregorian fallen angels, need to address you of all people? Kiba asked seriously. You are, after all, Surzek's son. Exactly because of that factor, charming. Corvus continued. Say whatever you want about Azazel, but he knows how to get a message delivered to a person, and using my unique closeness to Kyoto yokais was a nice move from his part, informing me and then my father, for I do have a personal contact with him, and mother. That letter informed us that this group was assigned as observers and protectors of certain people in this town, who are rumored to possess sacred gears in them. Do you have any names? Rias asked him directly, getting a disappointed look from Corvus. Do you honestly think that he would share such information with us, Rias? Azazel isn't that dumb, to openly reveal to us the names of sacred gear holders. I expected more from an heiress. Corvus scoffed. Anyway, apparently somebody has informed this group that instead of observation and protection, they are now to either exterminate the confirmed users or extract their sacred gears out of them, which means that there is going to be a bloodbath in this town and nearest populated areas. And before you ask, it was checked and there are already a couple dead humans from a village just 6 miles away from this town, confirmed to have possessed sacred gears and were killed by a light-based weapon. So, now do you get why I was really assigned here? In general terms, yes, Rias said. So, what is your plan of actions? Assuming you have one, that is. That depends, Corvus said vaguely. If they continue to act as they did in that village, which wasn't really discreet, then I'll have no problems intercepting them in no time and preventing civilians from getting hurt. And for that very reason, I expect you to fully cooperate with me and share any information you have on possible holders of sacred gear or any fallen angels' activity in the area. And because of that, I am asking you, do you have any information on potential sacred gear users or fallen angels' activity in this area? Rias seemingly pondered about it, with Akino, Kaneko and Kiba looking at each other, with questioning looks. After a seeming minute of pondering, Rias gave her direct answer. I am afraid that I don't have any information about any of them. Rias spoke up, getting Corvus to up his brow, even though it was coved by shadow of his hat. The only sacred gear user from this area I am informed of is Saji Genshiro, but he has recently been reincarnated as Sona's pawn. Aside of him, me and my peerage haven T encountered. Corvus paid some attention to Rias and her servants, seeing if she was lying him right in the face, or was sincere. From their faces, it was pretty evident that Rias wasn't lying, but Corvus' gut and instincts were telling him that there was something going on behind the curtains. He knew of Rias' deceitful and manipulating side, and he honestly hoped that she wasn't playing trick with him, because this was the mission assigned by great kings themselves and there could be no meddling involved. But for now, he had to take on Rias' word on it. Corvus rose up from his seat and headed towards the doors, his hands in the pockets. Before he stepped out of the cabinet, he spoke up once again. For the time being, I'll reside in this building. Corvus wasn't going to take no for answer. We'll talk after I've discussed things with Sona Citri. See you later. And with that, he left the cabinet, shutting the door behind him. And with that, all of Rias' servants turned to their king, with Akino speaking up first. Rias, I understand that Corvus isn't your favorite relative, but he was assigned here by great King Lucifer himself. Akino reminded her friend this detail. Lying directly in his face is a bad decision, in my opinion, because he answers to Surzek's, and when Corvus finds out that you've basically held the important information from him, there will be serious trouble awaiting you. Akino, please. Rias spoke with a carefree smile. It would only happen if Corvus finds out that we already know about fallen angels in this area, and that they are already making a move. In fact, now with this information, I can say that now we can safely make our move, concerning Issei Haidu and that fallen angel girl. What do you have in mind, President? Kaneko finally spoke up. I'll send out my familiar and order him to give one of our flyers to Issei, when he and his fallen angel friend will be on the date. Once she does the deed, we will teleport via our flyer and after that we will have a new member of a club. Rias explained the plan. Corvus will have absolutely nothing to suspect and will have his fallen angels to chase after. And if my suspicions about Haidu are correct, then Surzek will even thank me and will remove his son from here. Now let us prepare ourselves for an upcoming event. President, on an off chance that Corvus does find out about our knowledge of fallen angels, what do you expect to do in this situation? Kiba spoke up. Kiba, I thought that UV had more faith in me. Rias chuckled. There is no way he'll find out about, and I am confident that once Sona hears about fallen angels and sacred gear users, she'll also try and exploit this opportunity, which will keep her mouth shut as well. Plus, even if he finds out about it all, there will be very little he'll be able to actually do to me. After all, who would believe a word of disgraced outcast, living with yokais and about to marry one, against the word of heiress of prestigious house of Gremory, beloved by her parents and her brother? Chapter 2, Co-Academy. Student Council Room. The atmosphere in the student council room was unnaturally tense and not as lively, for usually there would be casual talk between the girls or Ruruko and Momo flirting with Saji, followed by Sona or Tsubaki telling them to get back to work, but this time, everything was different. All because of a certain red-haired swordsman, wearing a hat and with signature red raven on his attire, currently being present in the room, standing right in front of sitting Sona, with her queen at her side and the rest of Sona's peerage being behind her, eyeing Corvus with suspicion and caution. At least most of them did so, while the only male member of the student council was looking at Corvus with a bit of arrogance, and with a pose that screamed him being the only alpha male in here. Naturally, it didn't intimidate Corvus in the slightest, because he faced those that could scare the hell out of ultimate devils by mere presence. He himself could scare devils, fallen angels and others when the need was, but he usually preferred to keep his usual demeanor. It has been several minutes since Corvus got in here and told Sona and the others of why he was sent here and what he needed to know, if they possessed any reliable information. He had to give a credit to Sona and her peerage, because they took these news rather well and weren't flinching at all in the presence of a high-class devil with not-so-shining reputation in the society. Corvinus knew all about those talks behind his back and why he wasn't the heir of Gremry clan. And honestly, over the years he learned to appreciate what he really possessed and could get, and not fret too much about the whole issue about him being rejected as an heir and all. In fact, Corvinus was actually glad to not be one, because he had absolutely no desire to get entangled in family politics and their dealings with other houses. He had his share with dealings between yokais, Shinto gods and devils, serving as ambassador in Kyoto from devils, working directly under Great King Leviathan and answering to her, in his normal days. This matter, along with several other dealings, were exceptions when Corvus was working directly under his own father. Not that he didn't like it. If anything, it always felt nice for Corvus to work for his own dad, as they are really close and not just usual father and son, but as respectable devils and persons that know what they want and know the value of code of conduct. Corvus was never trailed by his father, and he never stuck his nose into his own son's business unless it looked threatening to Corvus, trusting him and only offering his help in need if that were to arise. Corvus practically never took his dad on that offer, but he feels like his old man feels a bit sad that his son got everything covered and moves in his own pace in life. That didn't mean that Corvus hated his parents getting into his business just because of him being reckless. No, he knew when he could handle things and when he needed help, but he also simply didn't wanted to abuse his dad and really wanted him to see Corvus as a son he could be damn proud of. And Sir's ex-Lucifer was a damn proud father of one great devil, that's for sure. Getting back from his thoughts of family and father, Corvinus, with his signature careless smile looked at Sona's peerage and then spoke with her. Nice peerage you've gathered around yourself, Sona. Corvus commented, getting Sona to raise a brow. Loyal, disciplined and cautious they haven't lowered their guard in the slightest since IV came here and even now they just await your command to get into the action. Do you find it insulting, Blood Raven? To have servants of friendly clan being so hostile with you? Sona asked Corvus, who only chuckled. Insulting? I find it to be smart, that's what. Corvus honestly surprised Sona. Do you think that I don't know all those rumors and stories that high class tells about me, Sona? I know what kind of public image I have and it doesn't really phase all that much, but your peerage and your caution so far was a really good move. I tip my hat for you, and Corvus actually did so, taking off his hat and revealing his full face onto display. Seraphol was right about you and your group on all accounts. You speak of my older sister as if you are friends, though I don't recall her telling me that she is friends with you, Corvus. Sona noted. She is actually my boss. Corvus admitted, getting everyone surprised. Because of my closeness to yokais of Kyoto and Shinto gods, Seraphol enlisted me as an official representative of devils there. Though most of my time I do spend doing my own business and only take up my post whenever there is an official meeting or a matter about this particular area that needs to be discussed and settled. A bit trivial and mundane, but it is stable. Doesn't he ruin my lifestyle and keeps me away from the dealings in underworld and all of family business? I see. Sona noted out. I will say that I am surprised to meet a devil that has so little interest in improving his status within his family. If some were to hear of this, they would start asking questions concerning your true allegiance. Let them do so. Corvus has shaken it off like nothing. Those who really want to know where my allegiance lies, they will know where to look and whom to ask. As for my family, the only Gremry I care about is my little brother Milikas and my parents. Venelana has made it crystal clear to me that I can forget about a title of heir, and that she and Xioticus give their fullest support to Rias, and only her. As for me, they try to maintain a certain level of hospitality with me, but one that is on the same level as with distant relative, or a bastard child. Must be pretty rough, for a high class to be labeled as an outcast. Saji spoke up carelessly. Well, not all are lucky enough to be members of such distinguished house as Citrus. He said arrogantly. I am sorry, but I doubt I've caught your name. Corvus put on his hat and looked at Saji. The name is Saji Genchiru, a pawn of Sona Citri and an all-around badass. Saji introduced himself arrogantly. You can take the autograph if you like, cause it's not every day you meet someone who took up 4 pawn pieces. Corvus looked questioningly at the guy and then at Sona, before bursting out into the loud laughter, and he almost fell onto the ground, but managed to stay on his feet. Sona and the rest of her peerage were able to remain silent, but now they were extremely embarrassed with what Saji just said and to whom he said it. They knew better than to agitate son of current Lucifer and strongest queen, for it was obvious that Corvinus Gremry, even without any power of destruction, was strong. though it wasn't clear how strong he really was. But Sona had a feeling that if Corvus was trusted by 4 great devil kings with these kinds of missions, then he was most certainly someone worth respect. An heiress of Citri didn't share Rias' opinion on Corvus being a weakling and having nothing of devil in him. Unlike her friend, making rash and misjudged decisions wasn't her style, and underestimating anybody was a flaw she didn't possess. Corvus lived 15 years in Kyoto, among Yukai, Tengu and Shinto gods, which could mean that he has learned something from them. And then there are these 3 swords, 2 of which were out in the open, but the third is covered in special shroud, preventing any reading on this sword's energy. That could mean that this sword wasn't a typical one, and these 2 weren't exactly standard ones themselves. All in all, it was clear that Corvinus Gremory is someone not to be underestimated. Saji was boiling from the fact that some guy who was kicked out of Gremory was laughing over him. He decided to show this guy just why he was so cool and summoned up his sacred gear, absorption line. Corvus stopped laughing and looked with a curious eye at it, and Saji proudly spoke. See, that's what I meant. This is my own badass sacred gear. Saji spoke up arrogantly. Absorption line of Ritra, also known as Black Prison Dragon. A sacred gear containing a part of Ritra's soul, while also being just a part of pack of several sacred gears. This one in particular is listed as a lower mid-tier sacred gear. Corvus knowledgeably stated, getting surprised looks from everyone once again. Not the first dragon-type sacred gear I've seen, and most certainly not the most powerful. And just from the looks of it, I can already tell that you've got little to zero experience using it. No offense, kiddo, but you don't stand a chance in any real fight at the condition you are right now. What? Are you saying that you are tougher than me? Saji was furious, getting Corvus to smile carelessly. Kid, if I wanted to, I would have beaten you, Sona and the rest of her entire peerage, along with Rias and her own peerage, without lifting a finger and within 1 minute, Corvus calmly stated with a bit of a cocky smile on his face, getting Saji even more furious. But if you are feeling lucky today, or simply want to throw your life away, I'll give a chance to prove me wrong today. Oh, and how are gonna do that then? Saji was all for it, with Sona looking disapprovingly. Saji, I won't tolerate such behavior. You will. Sona was about to speak up, but then Corvus cut in. It's alright, Sona. I think it will be a good opportunity to teach your little punk here an important lesson, and besides, if this little blonde douche thinks he is cool enough to go up against an older son of current Lucifer, then he better be ready to back it up, Corvus simply stated, with Saji moving around the table and now standing in front of Corvus. So here how we'll play this one out. If you manage to land a single solid hit on me that will move me from this very spot, then I'll give you the sword on my back to you. Trust me, he is well worth as a prize. Okay, but what if I fail? Then I'll be free to lay finger on you. Corvus merely stated, confusing Saji. And once you fail, you'll dress up as an English butler for the entire month and serve the ladies in this room all their wishes and perform all duties as butlers do. And I mean all wishes and all duties. Skip a day or even a minute, then as a punishment, you'll be dressed up as a maid and do everything I've listed earlier, only as a maid and for the entirety of 2 months. At the premise of such conditions of defeat, Saji couldn't help himself but swallow up and prepared himself to do what he had to. Corvus looked completely calm and unfazed, as if he already knew the outcome of this, complete with his cocky smile and steel eyes. Sona and Tsubaki were curiously looking not at their pawn, but at Bloodraven, trying to determine if he was going to bluff, go away from the strike, or strike before the attack. Despite all stupidity of Saji, he did give his king a very good opportunity of observing Rias' nephew in action, which in turn would allow her better to determine his real potential and power. This information would be invaluable in the upcoming gathering of the Young Devil, and there was a possibility of enter from both current Young Gremory members. It wasn't known if Corvinus has participated in any raiding games or if he even had a peerage, but still, knowing his real strength would be very useful to Sona and Tsubaki. In the next minute, the tension reached its peak and Saji, with a grunt, threw his right fist towards Corvus, who stood perfectly still. He put everything he had in it, and was expecting that the guy will fall onto the ground and Saji will have this stupid sword. Only instead of falling onto the ground, Corvinus stood perfectly still in the very same spot he stood all this time, not moving even an inch or less. In fact, it seemed like the fist connected to his left cheek didn't even bother him at all. Saji looked shocked and then took away his fist and clutched it from pain, gritting his teeth as he now felt the pain in his fingers and knuckles. Corvus simply looked at the contester and noted out, "Looks like you've broken at least 3 or 4 fingers." Corvus simply stated, "Here, I'll give you anesthetic." He simply raised his left forefinger and tacked Saji's head with it, which sent the poor guy crushing into the standing behind him empty closet, which closed upon the impact, leaving everyone in stunned silence. After that, Corvus merely turned and faced Sona and her peerage, speaking up. "Looks like you ladies now have a new butler." Corvus laughed a bit at it. "Corvinus, what the hell did you do to him?" Sona asked, completely shocked. "Did you use some sort of spell or something of that sort?" "Sona, I've thought you've been of better opinion of me. You hurt my feelings, girl." Corvus looked like a wounded party, tipping his hat lower a little. "Didn't you hear the terms? If he wasn't able to move me from this very spot, then I can lay a finger on him. I pride myself as a man of my word and I did just that. It wasn't my fault that he couldn't stand his ground afterwards and broke his fingers in the process. Just goes to show that you really need to train this dude up, and I mean real training, not the basic exercising and that stuff Rias does with her peerage. I'll take your word on that one. Sona agreed, adjusting her glasses. Now, is there anything else you wanted to discuss, Bloodraven? Well, I am still waiting an answer on my question, Sona. Corvus got a little more serious once again. Rias has told me that she and her peerage haven't encountered any signs of fallen angels or sacred gear users in this town, so I am curious if you have noticed anything strange in the area lately. And do please be honest with me. I don't need to explain to you the importance of my mission, I hope? Pardon me, Bloodraven, but do I feel like you don't trust the words of your aunt? Sona asked Corvus. Do you think that she would lie directly in your face, son of her brother and a member of her own family? Sona, I am still waiting for a straight answer from you. Corvus wasn't buying into her words. I know how this game is played and I know exactly what to expect in these situations. And if you really want to know, then no, I would never be as stupid as to put my trust in Rias' words completely. I know that girl would never share any real information with me willingly, and if there is one thing that she and I do share is our collective distrust to each other. The only difference is that I know what to expect from her, and she thinks that she can manipulate me to her heart content. Sona was honestly surprised at this answer, and how Corvus wasn't even slightly bought by Rias and her ways. She definitely misjudged him from the very start, and let her own pride get in the way of her judgment. She should be known better than to play with the son of current Lucifer and Grayfia Lucifuge. And then there was the fact of his nickname/title of Bloodraven, which he had to earn somehow. In fact, it wasn't even clear who gave him this name, and where it originated from. The only thing that was known to Sona is that Corvinus got it from his time in Kyoto just about a couple of years ago, and was called first by the announcer on one of the official parties he had to participate. It could be possible that it was Corvus who gave himself a nickname, but it wasn't too clear at all to make rushed judgments. Instead, she decided that it would be better not to get in the way of an official representative of great kings themselves and play it safe, instead of risking her status and place here, like Rias would do. With a sigh of defeat, Sona spoke up. It is true, we have spotted 4 fallen angels in this town. Sona gave up. Along with them, there is a substantial number of stray exorcists with them. They have already killed several of our clients in the town. She could clearly see how Corvus gripped his right sword with his hand and how his expression has changed into a completely serious one. She could even swear that the color of his eyes changed for a second from steel silver to bloody red. With full seriousness, Corvus looked at Sona and spoke up again. What is the total number of killed so far? Corvus demanded to know. 7, 4 of them were Rias' clients. Sona informed Corvus. According to our sources within the police, there were clear indications of rape, extreme violence, and even cannibalism with the last 2 of them. Sounds a lot like someone I know. Corvus stated with grim expression. Why haven't you reported sooner about this to great kings, or why didn't you take any counteractions against this group? Sona was hesitant to answer to this question, but after a minute of silence, decided to answer. Rias believed that the presence of fallen angels would allow her to identify potential holders of sacred gear, and then reincarnate them into her peerage as servants, Sona stated, getting Corvus to look at her directly. She offered me to take several sacred gear users if they were to be located. Once Sona told everything about this deal to Corvus, she suddenly saw how the air around them all began to become heavier and heavier with each passing moment. Everyone as well noticed it, as if the pressure in the air was rising and rising. In the next few seconds, Ruruko and Rhea, unable to handle such high pressure, dropped onto the ground without feelings, soon followed by Momo, Tsubasa and Tomo. Only Tsubaki was still up, but now she had to struggle with impossibly tough pressure, and now she could barely breathe, as the air became like liquid and was frozen cold as well. Sona too felt the effects of this on herself, and was just barely retaining her conciseness, while the furniture and devices began to show cracks and visible damage, with windows shattering as well and door at the point of complete collapse. Eris of Citri looked at Corvus, who stood perfectly still and showed absolutely no signs of discomfort, only cold and terrifying glare from his steel eyes. Now Sona understood the source of this hellish agony and struggle, but she didn't sense any magical energy being applied. But there was something coming out of him that was as strong if not stronger than some of the strongest pressuring spells she heard of. All she could say is that she now saw the glimpse of Corvinus' power, and now she understood one thing clear. He was not just strong, but the strongest devil in this town and in all of Japan. After several minutes of severe pain, pressure and near death, Corvus releases his hold on the air and looked at the only 2 remaining girls, who had red eyes and nosebleeds already. He spoke in completely serious and cold voice. Has Rias or you found any sacred gear users or someone who has come in contact with fallen angels? He demanded to know the answer. Only one Issei Hayadu Sona had serious struggling with breathing and speaking. Rias suspects that he has a sacred gear ANAAF fallen angel called him out on a D-date today. Where? Corvus wasn't going to hear any objections. I don't know, Sona answered, and then Corvus leaned closer to Sona and spoke in the same voice. For your sake, you are telling me the truth, because if you don T and at that moment, the entire room momentarily became covered in cracks and frozen all over in the matter of a second. I'll make you regret every second of this decision. And with that being said, Corvinus turned around and left the ruined student council room. Tsubaki stopped restraining herself and spilled out some of her own blood covering the table and even getting on Sona. Worried Sona looked at her queen and spoke. T.S. Tsubaki, Sona wasn't faring much better herself. Are you? IW will beat, Tsubaki said, sitting on the chair herself. B, but what K kind of a P power W was that? I don't TK no. Sona admitted. I it was N no magic. B but S something M more SP spiritual like T turning the spirit of AAP person I into a weapon. And maybe it was a form S senjutsu, Tsubaki panted looking at the rest of girls. As Sona looked, Sona turned around and saw something that took her completely off guard. The rest of her peerage looked completely fine and were simply out of commission, but no sign of the same pressure that was put on Sona and Tsubaki. As if that power was directed, after they were disabled, right at Sona and Tsubaki, as if he was punishing them for making a mistake. And they sure did a big one when they decided to partake in that affair that Rias proposed. Now Eris of Citri knew what it was like to cross someone unknown to her, but who clearly has earned his name. And if this was a punishment just for her, then Sona shuddered at the thought of what would Corvinus do to Rias, outside of Ko Academy grounds. Once Corvinus got clear of the school grounds and was far enough from any simply bystanders, he was finally clear to do what he needed to do right now. Closing his eyes, he united his hands together in the same manner priests do. After several seconds of concentration, he opened up his eyes, along with all his senses that he possessed and acquired. That has given him a clear view of the entire town and its energy signatures, granting him the ability to sense out all living beings within the reaches of his sense. A very useful thing, especially when you have to do tracking of devils, fallen angels or any other supernatural creatures, for they were much easier to sense out than humans because of their unique spiritual signatures. And this very detail has just allowed Corvinus to find his target. In the region of Park, Gremory felt out the unmistakable trail of fallen angel and a human along with her. Only this guy. After concentrating some more, Corvinus' eyes widened suddenly at the sudden realization of not just the fact that this guy had a sacred gear, but what sacred gear that was. You've got to be kidding me, out of all sacred gears it had to be this one. Corvinus muttered in his own mind. Then, he suddenly felt how a barrier suddenly formed up around the area and it was now on. The fallen angel has decided to make her move. Too bad that the park was relatively close by. Without any hesitation, Corvinus went into his fullest speed he could and in the matter of mere second reached the walls of barrier, breaking in with no stopping. There, he saw as the raven-colored fallen angel, dressed in revealing outfit, was already throwing light spear at a brown-haired boy. Wasting no time, Corvinus gripped his left katana and as he finally stopped in between her prey and fallen angel, as light spear was about to reach its intended target, Corvinus' black katana cut the light spear in half, dispelling it completely. Fallen angel looked shocked at what just happened, along with the guy. Corvus turned for a second towards the boy and spoke. Hey boy. Corvus drew his attention towards himself. Real sorry about it, but your date has just been cancelled. I'll explain everything, but first you have to do me a favor and hot tail it out of here right now. But Issei was about to say something, until he was stopped by something. Corvus looked lower and saw a golden light spear sticking out of his stomach. Issei collapsed onto the ground and began to bleed, as Corvinus saw the person who did it to him in form of another fallen angel. Only this one was a tall blue-haired lady with long hair and buxom figure. Seeing that the matter was worsening for Issei, Corvinus casted on him a healing spell and a barrier, while looking between the two. Issei's date was the first to speak up. You've got a lot of nerve, standing here and opposing us here, she said mockingly, looking at the fallen Issei and seeing how his wound was slowly healing up. Now, be a nice little devil and dispel that barrier for us and get the hell out of here. Do that and we might let you little devil go away relatively unscathed. Corvus simply scoffed and prepared his katana. That's funny, coming from a little pigeon such as yourself. Corvus mocked fallen angel, getting her to growl at him. Now listen up, girlie. You've just attempted a murder of an innocent guy who simply wanted to have a nice date with a nice girl. Something that I can understand and approve, and for that I am going to teach you some manners. And as for your friend over there, I'll be sure to make you pay for that dirty move. Didn't your mama ever teach you that stabbing people is bad, especially in the back? Blue-haired fallen angel simply smirked and created another one, with her friend doing the same as well. Corvus understood what they meant, and it was clear that the diplomacy has failed and now he had to defend the kid. Barrier and healing spells should keep him safe and sound, but he wasn't as confident about the light spear that fallen angel has used, for he knew that there were spears with multiple properties and this one could be one of tricky ones. Flicking his sword Kuroitsuki, in the left hand, Corvus prepared to defend himself and the kid, and he was right to have drawn this particular sword out, because this weapon is Corvus' greatest defensive tool in battles against fallen angels and everyone who possesses even the slightest magical properties. Because Kuroitsuki is a cursed demonic sword, cursed to destroy all magic its blade touches, be it light, demonic or anything. Kuroitsuki will destroy it from the existence. Issei's date was the first one to attack, throwing the light spear at him, with her friend following just a second behind her, throwing her golden one at Corvinus. Bloodraven didn't even need to see one of the opponents to know where they would strike. He knew where, when and how they would attack, and because of that, as the first spear approached his chest, he moved his sword to the right and dispelled it with one swing. Then moving in a rhythm, he moved the blade down a little and dispelled another spear, as it was approaching his stomach. All of that was done at the high speed, and two fallen angels were shocked to see it happen. Issei's date was the first to address it. What the hell? I thought that there were no other knights in those peerages. How the hell can he move this fast and destroy our spears like that? It's like he simply dispels them. She said in shock. Wait, Rainier? Now Corvus knew the real name of Issei's date. Black hat with raven feathers, a black curse sword with a white brother one, and that red raven. Not to mention those red hairs. She finally understood with whom they were dealing with. I should have realized it sooner, especially considering how well known you actually are in Grigori, Bloodraven. Corvus turned to face the blue-haired fallen angel. So I take you know who I am, don't you? Corvinus received a firm nod from buxom fallen angel. Indeed I do, Corvinus Gremory, son of Lucifer. She said with a great deal of respect towards the man, getting a loud gasp from Rainier as well. I am surprised to find you here, although. If rumors are true, then your base of operation is Kyoto, not Ko. Have you come here to support your aunt? Or are you on a quest to recruit more people into the ranks of devils? Neither of the two, actually. Corvus objected. I am here because of you fallen angels causing a ruckus, along with stray exorcists. So I was called in to clean up this mess and settle this whole situation before any side suffers substantial losses. Sorry, Bloodraven, but there is no way we are going to back away from this one. Our orders come directly from leader of Grigori, Azazel, and it is our job to follow it through until the end. Rainier spoke up, now in far more polite and cautious manner. And even you, Welsh Slayer, can't he make us back away from this task? Rainier, was it? Corvus got a nod from the girl. Are you in charge of the fallen angels in this area? I am. What of it for you? She asked him and saw how he suddenly pulled out of his pocket an envelope. What is this, a bribe? No, something I was asked to deliver this letter to the leader of this group from an acquaintance of mine. He then threw it towards Rainier, who caught it and opened up. I believe you LL recognized the handwriting style and signature of the sender. Rainier opened up the envelope and got the letter out in the open and quickly read it. And as she did, her eyes have widened at the content of this letter. She looked with shocked eyes at Corvinus and asked him directly, Is what written here is true? Did you get it directly from Azazel yourself? Rainier asked Corvus. No, this envelope came from another message, informing great kings of your presence here and your actions. Corvus informed Rainier. No matter how well your leader and I get along, it is rather difficult for us to send each other letter without getting people to ask questions. However, the message came through the most secure channel, and the one who brought us this message is someone whom I, great devil kings, Azazel and even Archangel Michael trust and are willing to listen to. Corvus assured her, but still saw disbelief in her eyes. If you wish to check this yourself, then I have a proposal that should settle this little dispute once and for all. And what that would be, exactly? I propose a ceasefire between us for the next 3 days. Corvus proposed. This time should be enough for you to check up with HQ and confirm if it's a fake or real orders from Azazel. During this ceasefire, there will be no attacks from either side on another one, along with anyone who is in any way associated with either us or you. If anyone from your side makes a move against the civilian population or any devils of this town, then the ceasefire is off. And if anyone of devils attacks your associates or fallen angels, then the ceasefire is off. So, in basic term, as long as each side plays low and doesn't attack another one, then we are free to check up with HQ? Rainier asked Corvus, who nodded. And what happens if I find out that these orders are fake? Then this town will probably become a battleground between me and your group. Corvus simply informed. And that is something that I would like to avoid. I may be able to kill you without any problem, but I prefer to settle things peacefully if there is a chance to do so. There is no need for us to spill blood when it can clearly be avoided, right? You really are an interesting person, Bloodraven. Rainier chuckled, taking away the letter. You could kill me and Calawarner a second UV appeared here, but instead you decided to play a diplomat? I take it from my father. While he may be one of the strongest devils out there, our real strength lies in the ability to avoid conflict when it is clearly unnecessary. Corvus admitted, getting Rainier by surprise. So, do you agree with the terms of this agreement? Yes, I do, but I want you to do something for me. Corvus looked interested, when he saw Rainier pointing at Issei. Issei, I want you to save his life. Corvus was honestly impressed by this one, totally not expecting such requests from a girl that was going to kill him. That is actually the first time I hear such an interesting request. Corvus honestly admitted. Care to explain what are your reasons for asking me of such thing, Rainier? Not that it matters, because it is my policy to avoid and prevent civilian casualties. Rainier looked with quite a bit of blush at Corvus, and then at Issei before speaking up again. The spear that I threw at him was a rigged one, meant to knock him out only, so I could take him to safety. Rainier explained. IV sensed that we were followed by a devil from the beginning, and I became concerned for him and myself. While I originally really did intended to kill him, IV changed my mind after our date, and instead decided to recruit him. I told him that I would have to knock him out and told him to trust me. He said that he was willing to do so, she said with a blush and feeling of genuine care for the boy. Corvus could see the reasoning of Rainier, and why she was going to do so. If anything, it takes guts to go against the orders and follow one's heart, and for this one Rainier most certainly earned a couple of points in his book. Looks like her partner actually messed up. Corvus actually turned to Kala and spoke up to her. Looks like UV messed up with that hit on him, Corvus pointed out, as Kala actually bowed her head down and Gremory turned to Rainier. UV got my word, Rainier. I'll take care of Issei for you, but I'll have to warn you that the next time you meet him, he might end up being a devil. But I'll make sure to explain everything to him. Rainier only could nod to that one and spread her wings, taking off. If you want to contact in the next 3 days me, I'll be in Ko Academy. I'll make arrangements so that you or your messenger doesn't get attacked by accident, Corvus informed her. Alright, until we meet again, Blood Raven. And with that, she and her partner took off. As they disappeared from his view, Corvus turned around and spoke up once more. Only this time he was far more serious and deadlier. Stop screwing around and show yourself already, Corvus demanded. If that two-winged fallen angel could notice you, do you think that I can do the same? And as if by a charm, the silent observers finally revealed themselves to Corvinus, in form of Rias, Aquino, Kaneko and Yuto. Bloodraven's grip on Kuroitsuki tightened as he saw them. Aquino was the first one to speak up, in her usual manner. Oh my, I was actually expecting a bloodbath from someone named a Bloodraven, but this is kind of disappointing. Aquino noted out, moving with the rest of the group towards Issei. I am not here to impress you, Aquino. Corvus was stone cold as he made a couple of steps and stood between the shielded Issei and Rias peerage. I am here to clean up the mess that you have caused in the first place. Corvus pointed his sword at Rias, who looked surprised and confused. Did you really think that I would simply trust the word of a girl, who has openly mocked me and my bride on our announcement party? I am many things, Rias, but an idiot is not one of them. Corvus, I don't know what you are talking about. Rias was trying to defend herself. We came here after he called us through the flyer, and at that very moment, something that no one saw happened. Corvus openly slapped Rias with his right hand, damaging a lip and leaving a solid impact on her face. No one saw this one coming and they only reacted when Rias actually fell onto the ground. Rias! Are you alright? Aquino asked her directly, before shooting daggers at Corvus. You! How dare you to hit your own aunt like that? Don't you know who she is? A conniving arrogant snake that doesn't give a damn about the others and who is willing to kill innocent people and let loose dangerous criminal just to get what she wants, despite the consequences of her actions. Corvinus said without holding back with cold and dangerous voice. And from where I see it, you three are all just the same as your king. Only difference is that you are even worse, allowing someone like you to die so easily and get drugged into our world without even his consent. Some people you are with that. Corvus turned around and kneeled before Issei. And you are any better? Rias asked with venom in her voice. What makes you so different from me, Corvus? We are both high-class devils and it is our responsibility to support our society by bringing in strong and fit members through evil pieces. If anything, I was going to save him, through making him your loyal and obedient slave, like you did with those three? Corvus didn't even turn around to face her, putting away his Kuroitsuki. If you want to know what makes me so different from you, Rias, is that I never involve others in my business and business of our world. Putting the lives of innocent men, women and children just to gain something you want is the highest form of cowardice and dishonor. I've never made anyone my servant if they didn't wanted to follow me, not as their master, but as their leader and brother-in-arms. If they had trouble, I helped them fix it, not exploited their weakness to get them into my servitude. That is the way of a true leader, a true king, Corvus explained, summoning up his own box of evil pieces. And that makes me all the more disgusted with myself, because now I have no alternative. Wait, you can just take Issei for yourself, and Rias was about to demand Corvus to stop, but failed as he raised his voice once more. Shut your mouth, Rias! I'll have words with you later, Corvus stated, opening the box and pulling out 4 pawn pieces. I never thought that I would be forced to save someone like that. Issei Hayato, I want you to know that I am genuinely sorry for all that has happened to you and for what I am forced to do right now. He dispelled the barrier and put the pawns on his body. Let us hope that these will be enough for you, Welsh Dragon Emperor. If there was something that Corvus absolutely hated to do was forcing others into the dealings of his world without their consent and readiness. He never, ever recruited member of his peerage that way or put the lives of civilians on the line because of his own ambitions. But now, he simply was left without any choice, because his healing spell was developed for devils to use against the light infection. But this was a human, and it only stopped the spread of light, and prevented him from immediately dying on the spot. The only way for him to save him was through reincarnation, and he felt really damn bad about betraying his own ideals like that. However, he gave his word, and if he were to break it, then he could quit calling himself a man of honor. In the name of Corvinus Gremory, I resurrect you, Issei Hayato, as my pawn. And with that, 4 pawn pieces immediately reacted to the command of Corvus, and all 4 glowed with intense red glow, and were absorbed into his body. 4 mutation pieces at the same time? I guess I shouldn't be surprised at that one, considering whom I am dealing with. Let us hope that Drake has forgiven me for killing his last host. Chapter 3, Occult Research Club. 4 hours after the ceasefire was established, today was a very tense day for Rias and Sona, along with their respective peerages, all with the sudden arrival of Corvinus Gremory and his short investigation of fallen angels' presence in the town, with the subsequent discovery of an affair Rias set up, with Sona taking a part in it. Not to mention the fact innocent people got killed during this whole situation, people who had dealings with devils and were dead because of it. And all of that and something else as well Corvinus has reported back to Lucifer, his father. Needless to say, Sirzex wasn't pleased with how it all turned out to be, but he didn't directly express his frustration and anger, instead holding on to that and thanking Corvus on investigating this whole situation and managing to establish the ceasefire. As for Rias, he said that he was very disappointed in her, and that they will talk about later. He told them that he'll inform them all of his decision later, and that they shall await for it in Occult Research Club. All of them for that matter. And so, Rias and her peerage, along with Sona and Tsubaki, were all in the cabinet of Occult Research Club, waiting for the decision made by Sirzex. And with them were Corvinus and his newest addition to his peerage, Issei Hayadu, who were sitting on the sofa, with Sona and Tsubaki sitting on the opposite sofa, Kiba and Kaneko behind Corvus and Issei, and with Rias and Akino in their usual places. Corvus' healing spell fixed damaged Issei fast, and he awakened in less than an hour. Afterwards, Corvus spent the remaining time explaining to a shocked boy everything that has happened to him and his current situation, along with his sacred gear inside him, boosted gear, and who was who in the world. Corvus wanted to be especially careful and thorough about these subjects and did so, while making sure that Issei took it all in without too much confusion and complication. And Corvus had to admit that Issei did take it all in relatively well, and now they were all just sitting in here, with tension high for heiresses and their peerages. Issei spoke up once again, concluding everything that had happened to him. So, in short, my first girlfriend turned out to be a fallen angel, who are not friends with you devils. And before she could knock me out, UV showed up and it led to her friend stabbing me. And in order to save me, UV used your own evil pieces and brought me back as your pawn, Issei concluded, looking at Corvinus, who merely nodded, while his hat was on his knee. So, does that mean that I am now your period servant? Basically yes. Corvus confirmed with a bit of bitter sadness in him. And to be perfectly honest with you, if there was any other option, I would have taken it. Turning people into my servants without their consent is not my style, so you have my apologies on this one, Issei. And if you are wondering if your life is going to change much from it, then I'll tell you that besides being a devil, your life is your own to decide. I am one to abuse you as my servant if you aren't in agreement with me and my views. Well, if anything, I'll just be keeping an eye out for you and train you up so that you can take care of yourself when something like that happens again. And you think it will happen again? Issei asked Corvus, concerned about it. Unfortunately, but true. Corvus confirmed once again. Especially considering the sacred gear you possess. Red Dragon Emperor always have been known to draw powerful opponents towards them. Pardon my curiosity, Corvinus, but how were you able to identify which sacred gear Issei Hayada possesses? Sona asked with curiosity and caution. I mean, he didn't even manifest it into the display, and you knew from the beginning what sacred gear it was. Corvus turned his head towards Sona, while noticing that everyone looked at him for an answer. He simply sighed and spoke up once more. Oh well, I guess you all will learn about sooner or later. Might as well just tell you about it myself. Corvus spoke, putting his hat back on. 2 years ago, Kyoto faction of yokai came under the attack of the previous possessor of boosted gear, hell-bent of killing yokais and all things supernatural, because he was Church's former exorcist gone rouge after he attacked and killed one of angels, for he became obsessed with power and wished to battle more and more powerful opponents. That led him in Kyoto, where he met his end. So, you were present when yokais killed him? Rias inquired, getting an annoyed look from Corvus. Did I say anything about yokais killing him? That got everyone confused. Yokais and Shinto gods weren't the ones doing the fighting, and it weren't Seraphal Leviathan or father and mother, who were visiting at the time. No, Red Dragon Emperor fought against the one who is currently known as Bloodraven. I was his opponent, and he fell to my sword. Corvus simply dropped the news on their heads, seeing the complete shock and terror of them all, including those that were standing behind him. Impossible, Rias spoke up, rising from her place and looking at Corvus. There is no way on earth that you could defeat a Red Dragon Emperor. You aren't even a real Gremory to begin with. After all, no real Gremory or a devil would ever marry to some backwater animal girl at that moment. Rias suddenly fell onto the ground, trying to grab air, but getting none and feeling like she was pressed by something immeasurably heavy. The whole atmosphere in the room suddenly became cold and devoid of life, as Corvus rose up and slowly moved from the sofa towards the table, and soon he was where Rias was lying on the ground, eyes red and with blood coming out of her nose and body barely even moving. The rest of her peerage didn't even move, as they were actually feeling the same effects, only theirs were reduced in power, but were enough to hold them in one place. Sona and Tsubaki weren't even thinking about stepping in and helping out Rias, because they didn't wanted to feel the effects of this power on them once more. One time was more than enough for them, and the rest of Sona's peerage were still out cold. Issei was totally ineffective with the power Corvus displayed just now, but he could clearly feel that there was some kind of magic in use. Corvus with just one hand picked up Rias by collar and brought her up, looking with crimson red eyes in her eyes. Listen up, you can mock my ideals, despise my morality, you can even spit on me, I'll just laugh it off and forget about it. But if you ever mock one of my friends or someone I love, then regardless, if you are Satan or a god, you are going to pay for it, Corvus told to Rias, finally releasing the hold on Rias and the rest of her peerage, and dropping her in the chair. And just for your information, bloodline means nothing when it comes to battle. It is the first lesson my sword master taught me. Rias was panting and wiping out the blood, with Akino tending to her. Was it Master Okita? Kiba asked Corvus, who looked with a curious eye. Because I do not recall him saying anything like it or having you as his pupil. Charming, just because Tsuji Okita is my father's knight doesn't he automatically make him my sword master? Corvus smirked, coming closer to his swords that were positioned at the sofa. No, my master is someone who is yet to be surpassed by anyone in the world, and your master has indeed tried to defeat him over a dozen times, and I even remember one of those tries. But he failed just like all the previous times. That got Kiba to raise a brow, until he finally realized just who in the world Corvus was referring to. You can be serious, Kiba said, being completely shocked. He is said to have never trained anyone. I personally have went to him and demanded him to train me, but he merely tossed me out. How is it that you've managed to get him to train you? Kiba demanded to know, surprising with his reaction everyone. Corvus simply smiled and adjusted his hat, turning away from Kiba's angry face. Sorry, Charming, but I want to tell you. Corvus could clearly hear an angry growl from Kiba. If you are looking to becoming his pupil, then first finish up your training with Tsuji Okita. Why? Because I am not good enough for him to train me? Kiba asked Corvus, who simply scoffed. Idiot, if you can understand something like that, then you better just give up on swordsmanship. Was all that Corvus said to Kiba? Sona decided to address a question that has been bothering her for some time now. While you are stating that Issei Hayato is current Red Dragon Emperor, Corvus, but how would you be able to prove it? Corvus turned a curious eye to her. It is a common knowledge that all sacred gears are bestowed upon humans right before their birth, not during their life. Meaning, there is no chance that Issei has gotten a hold of boosted gear. Corvus simply chuckled, turning to Issei. Issei, tell me. Corvus drew Issei's attention. 2 years ago, didn't you experience a severe case of unexpected fever, followed with all symptoms of flu? Actually, yes, I did. Issei answered. Exactly 2 years ago, just in the middle of school year, I suddenly got sick really bad and even gotten into hospital for nearly a month. I don't remember anything too well from that period, cause I was practically in coma, from what I've heard from my doctors. All that I know that it was some kind of rare type of flu or something like that, and that now, after I've healed up from it, I've got a full immunity from it again. But how is it connected with me possessing this boosted gear? Most of sacred gears do work in the way that Sona said earlier, but when it comes to Longinus class sacred gears, there is a very slim chance of that they might end up inside of already living humans. Corvus explained. I've heard of that theory from Ajuka Beelzebub, after he examined a reincarnated devil with one of Longinus a couple of centuries ago, similar to Issei. But I didn't think that I would meet someone who got his Longinus like that. Well, if anything, that whole decease actually changed my life. Issei admitted, rubbing the back of his head. When I finally got over that sickness, I was like a whole new guy. I mean, back then all I was thinking was just seeing girls' breasts and nothing else, like 24/7. I even was dreaming of having a freaking harem. Sona and Rias actually turned a surprised eye to Issei, who was nervously laughing at what he just said, all because he was actually considered to be one of the nicest guys in the academy, a good student with grades above average, but not too much, and as someone who was good in sports. Not the most popular guy, but clearly not like the perverted duo and someone many girls actually asked out on a date. But he went out with them only as a friend and not as a romantic date, and he made it clear to them. To be honest, Rainier was actually his first real romantic date with whom he went out. Corvus simply laughed up a bit as well. Well, I can relate to that one, Issei. Corvus said to him. Events like that do have the capacity of changing us for better or worse. So if you aren't after ladies' assets, what is your goal in life? Just out of curiosity. Well, I don't have one actually. Issei admitted, surprising the most. I just live as I am right now, and it is alright with me. Good for you, Issei. Corvus admitted, turning to Sona. Now, answering your question, Corvus turned back to Issei and smirked. So and how long are you going to stay silent, overgrown lizard? Don't you have anything to say to an old acquaintance, Drake? And at that moment, Issei's left hand has suddenly transformed into a red-scaled gauntlet with a big green jewel. Everyone looked in awe as they saw it happen, as Corvus only smirked with Issei looking in full disbelief at the gauntlet. And in the next moment the gauntlet talked. I would much rather incinerate you, Blood Raven, than say something to the man who defeated my previous host. Drake said with a bit of anger. The only one who is allowed to fight a Red Dragon Emperor in an all-out fight is White Dragon Emperor, and you stole that opportunity from me and my host, son of Lucifer. You are as grumpy as ever, aren't you, Drake? Corvus chuckled, before turning serious. Your host has made a mistake of attacking my bride and all of those innocent people, Welsh dragon. He wasn't even fit to be called a dragon, for he was more of a wild rabid dog with no sense. If anything, that dog deserved to die, and I am not regretting killing him myself, instead of allowing Vanishing Dragon fight someone as low as that guy. Don't tell me something that I don't already know, Blood Raven. Drake retorted begrudgingly. At least that victory come to you easily. How is your left arm feeling these days, by the way? Does it hurt, to wear these fancy clothes above such a bad burn? I can take a little pain, Red Dragon. If anything, it was well worth destroying your juggernaut drive. Corvus replied. Besides, with Issei, you might actually have a chance of breaking that losing streak of yours. Who knows, you might just be able to. I don't know, land a punch on Albion's current partner? Gers, shut your trap, Blood Raven. Drake replied, before going silent, with boosted gear deactivating. Looks like we'll get along just fine. Corvus replied in carefree manner, then he turned his head towards the appeared white glowing circle. Hey Issei, you might want to stand up for this one. Issei decided to take Corvus' word for it, and stood up, fixing up his attire a little. In the next second, out of the magical circle appeared a young-looking silver-haired woman, dressed in a French-made clothing. Her mere appearance here forced Rias and Sona stand up and draw their eyes at her, while Corvus simply sat on the sofa and looked at the woman with a small smile on his face. Akino and Tsubaki took their places at their kings, with the rest of Rias' peerage also standing near their king. Issei could tell that this lady was someone very important, and someone not be joking around for no good reason. Silver-haired lady quickly examined the room, noticing the only person in the room simply sitting, and nodded to him with a smile, who returned the gesture. And after that, she spoke in firm voice. Lady Rias, Lady Sona, Corvus. Grayfia Lucifuge spoke. I am here on behalf of Surzex Lucifer and Seraphol Leviathan, along with heads of houses of Gremory and Citri, who sent me to tell you their decisions about the situation that has occurred here. Well, I don't know about you, but I am personally throbbing out of curiosity. Corvus said a bit carefree, getting Sona and Rias look at him with glares. So, what have they decided? Both great devil kings wish to tell me that they are greatly disappointed in both of you, especially in you, Lady Rias. From the tone of voice, it was clear that Grayfia herself was angry with Rias. Your actions here have compromised not only the safety of devils here, but also have caused innocent people to die, who were also your and Lady Sona's clients. I hope that you realize just what kind of a violation you've caused and just how it could compromise not just the safety of your clients, but also your own personal positions. Endangering your own clients for whatever reason is one of the worst things that you could done. We haven't directly endangered anyone, Grayfia. Rias decided to defend herself, but to no avail. You were appointed here as a governor, and you knew well enough about a threat of fallen angels and stray exorcists. But instead of stopping them before they could do any damage, you decided to make a dangerous gamble and cause civilians to die. Grayfia accusingly spoke, turning to nervous Issei. My apologies for dragging you into the dealings of our society, Mr. Haida. Great devil kings were relieved to know that you were saved, but they also apologize for all the trouble you've been put through. Oh, I guess. Issei was a bit nervous because of all that has been happening. Don't be nervous, kid. Corvus spoke up, supporting Issei, turning to Grayfia. Are there any news from Azazel about the ceasefire? Yes, Great King Lucifer has been contacted directly by Azazel, who informed him of resuming contact with the group and his decisions, made on their behalf. He wished for you to meet with fallen angels tomorrow in their temporal HQ in church to discuss the terms of a proposal Azazel has decided to make, Grayfia said, turning to Rias and Sona. As for you two, you are to head in underworld to meet your parents immediately. During your absence, Akino and Tsubaki shall take care of your dealings while you attend to your meetings. Until this crisis has been fully resolved, Corvus shall remain in Kud until the situation here has been stabilized. That will be all. Grayfia ended, turning to Corvus. Corvus, Great King Lucifer wished to have a word with you, if you have time. Corvus simply nodded to that one and turned to Issei, taking out of his pocket something that looked like a car remote. After that, he handed to Issei and spoke up. Here, Issei. He handed it to Issei. It's my personal alarm. If something happens on your way home, press the red button and I'll teleport right to you. It works even if a barrier is put on, so if you get into a tight situation, press the button and I'll take care of business. And if it just so happens that I can answer the call well, you'll get the chance of meeting some of my friends. They all got this thing as well, so at least one answers the call. Okay, but what is a possibility that you won't come or that the thing won't work at all? Issei asked just in case. Well, it's somewhere around 0.0034% or something. Corvus scratched his head, standing up near Grayfia. Don't sweat it, just go home and get some rest. You've had a crazy day. I'll see you tomorrow. And with that said, Corvus and Grayfia teleported away through her magical circle, personal residence of Surzex Lucifer. Underworld. Within the next second, Corvinus and his mother reached their intended destination, which was the residence of Surzex Lucifer and his family, including his and Grayfia's peerages, Milicast Gremry and Corvinus with his peerage, though it was a formality, as he had his own residence in human world and they mostly resided there, visiting this place only when it was necessary or when they were called to. Along with them, Kunu and Yasaka also had their own personal chambers as well, for Kunu was soon going to be a member of Gremry family and Yasaka was her mother, making her also a nominal member of the family. But in reality formalities played little role in Surzek's family, because he and Grayfia viewed both Kunu and Yasaka as their family already for a very long time, ever since they accepted Corvus' stay in Kyoto, which was, in reality caused by Kunu, who really didn't he wanted to let go of her first and only friend at the time, and Corvus was not very happy with leaving her. While Surzek and Grayfia were a little saddened by this development, they figured that it would be for the best for Corvus, because in Underworld he was in danger, until the traitors were caught and dealt with accordingly. They were, however, relieved by the fact that Yasaka allowed Grayfia and Surzek visit their son whenever they wanted and wouldn't he oppose it, along with Shinto gods. This allowed parents of Corvus and Kunu bond quite significantly, especially Grayfia and Yasaka, who became practically the best friends with each other. Corvus was well aware that Yasaka was telling his mother all about his actions towards Kunu, and how things were going between them, and that wasn't even the half of it, considering the fact that just 2 minutes after Corvus has asked for Yasaka's blessing to propose Kunu, Surzek and Grayfia literally teleported right in Kyoto to observe the proposal. Of course, Corvus did like a true man and gentleman, for someone had to keep things normal with their parents in anticipation and encouraging him to make a move and with, heavily blushing from all this attention Kunu. At the very least, congratulations from both parties were genuine and things were as lively as ever in his family. As for the rest of Gremry household, it was pretty evident that the news weren't greeted well, for Xiaticus and Venelana had hoped that Corvus' wife would be of noble birth from devils, not a yukai. There were even rumors that Xiaticus and Venelana were discussing a possibility of a new marriage contract between Gremry and Phoenix, only now it involved the youngest child of Phoenix, Revel Phoenix and Surzek's older son, Corvus. So far those talks were nothing more but rumors, but who knows. As the pair went through the hall towards Surzek's cabinet, Grayfia decided to ask something that has been on her mind for some time now. How are things between you and Kunu? Everything is alright, I hope? Grayfia spoke in her caring and motherly tone, instead of her usual business one. Corvus honestly tipped his hat up a bit, and looked at his mother with a questioning eye. Yeah, everything is great. Corvus answered to her. She was a little upset when Dad decided to send me to Ko, but nothing heartbreaking. I mean, we were just planning on going on a vacation to my residence for a month, but now we had to postpone it until I sort things out here. I am sorry for dragging you into it, Corvus. Grayfia honestly apologized. I asked Surzek and Serafal to find a different option, but Serafal insisted on sending you to investigate everything. She believes that you are the best in solving practically every single problem there is. Nah, it's alright. Corvus simply shrugged it all off. Though, I wish I had acted sooner. Corvus was still sore about his decision to turn Issei into his own servant. Are you beating yourself over what happened to Issei Hayadu? Corvus nodded to that one. Don't blame yourself. If anything, UV most probably saved his life and his parents wouldn't he have to suffer a loss of their child. And if you are looking for those responsible for this whole situation, then blame Rias and Sona for their greed, for which they shall be punished. Thanks, Mom. Corvus smiled a bit. By the way, why did you ask how things were between me and Kunu? Doesn't her mother call you on daily basis just to tell you all about it? Well, a couple of days ago Yasaka told me that you and Yasaka have become fairly quiet during the evenings. Grayfia was trying to discreet about it as possible. She was beginning to worry that you two may be losing interest in each other. It took everything from Corvus not to scream outright, as he finally got what it was that Grayfia referred to. He really wished that Yasaka had stopped to tell Grayfia about this part of his relations with Kunu. It was embarrassing enough that Yasaka heard their activities during the night, and told them that she was proud of them being so enthusiastic. But now his mom and possibly even Dad know about it as well. He silently cursed to himself, and began answering. Everything is fine between us, Mom. Corvus was getting a little red by now. It's just I've simply installed a better soundproofing in our room, to avoid disturbing Lady Yasaka's rest. Really? Grayfia was honestly surprised and relieved. Well, that is good to hear, because she was starting to think that you two might not give us grandkids at all, which something that I myself found to be disturbing. You two do plan on having kids, do you? Grayfia decided to put a little pressure, just in case. Mom. Corvus looked at her with a bit of accusing look. It is a very natural thing for a mother to worry about her son, and how are things between him and his future wife. Grayfia defended herself. Now, what have you decided about the kids? And don't even think about lying, young man. When did I ever lie to you, Mom? Corvus sighed in defeat. Alright, fine. We've decided not to wait and are already at it, okay? If you want me to be completely honest with you, then we are just practicing because Kunu will be in her first heat next week, and we were planning to. Grayfia got what her son was saying and understood that everything was going as smooth as it could be, except for the fact that Surzek just basically pulled their son away from his future wife, when she will need him the most for the most urgent needs possible. Another reason for Grayfia to give a good earring to her husband. Well, let us hope that you and Azazel will settle matters tomorrow for good. Grayfia quickly spoke, understandingly. Though I can't help but admit that you are actually handling this much better than your father did. Really? I've always believed that you and Dad were a perfect match to each other. Oh, I am not talking about love. Grayfia confused Corvus a little. I mean that you are acting much better than your father did in our younger days. Back then, your dad was the most indecisive man when it came down to us, especially when he was trying to propose to me. He spent nearly a year building up courage and strength to say, even though IV practically directly said him my answer on his question 100 times over. But he still was afraid just to ask about. UV handled it much better, with Kuna being the nervous one. Well, how could she not be, with you, Dad and Yasaka, and then with Amaterasu practically holding your breath for this moment? Corvus recalled it all. But seriously, waiting for the year? I can't believe it. Oh, trust me, son, IV made your father pay for every single day of waiting. Grayfia chuckled. Treasure every moment you two have with each other, and do not be afraid. We will, Mom, and I'll also be expecting a word of progress with your other ladies as well. Grayfia added, making Corvus growl in a bit of frustration. While his dad was married only on his mother, it was because of ancient law, preventing the birth of too many heirs to the thrones of Satans. The same applied to the current great Satans, although they were now chosen through voting and the supposed successors would have to also get rid of harems and choose only one lady as official wife and live solely with her. Corvus was a son of Cersex, but that didn't immediately made him his successor on the throne of Lucifer, and he was absolutely fine with it, and wasn't he actually planning on succeeding his dad as a future Lucifer, with which Cersex was fine with. Especially considering that over 15 years Corvus not only built around himself a close group of friends and members of peerage, but also, unintentionally, he gathered around himself beautiful ladies that had the same feelings as Kuna towards him, and he himself wasn't willing to let go of either of them. And so, the road toward being a Satan was close to him, but he was completely fine with it. Though, Ajuka and Seraphal did say that given some time Corvus would be more than a worthy great devil king Lucifer. Well, Corvus was looking for this position and dismissed the idea. He was fine as he was. As the pair approached the doors of Cersex's cabinet, they could hear that he was in a bit of an argument with someone. Grayfia and Corvus glanced at each other, and simply decided to enter. And there they saw those with whom Cersex was arguing, and, not surprising, those were actually his own parents, Xeoticus and Venelana. Corvus could already guess what topic they were discussing. As they stepped in, Grayfia and Corvus didn't voice their presence for now, interested in how talks were going. What you are asking of me? Simply to let it slide? Cersex was talking to his parents. You have to understand that there must be a punishment for Rias' action and the mistake she made, or the same thing may very well happen again. Cersex, we understand that this can't be left unpunished. Xeoticus spoke. What we are asking you is to let us handle this situation. There is no need to make this little blunder into a public scandal. What Rias has done is anything but a little blunder, father. Cersex was standing his ground. Letting innocent people die just because of a possibility of acquiring a sacred gear user, and allowing murderous exorcists and fallen angels roam town freely is something that is unacceptable of a future heir to the noble house. And don't even get me started on the fact that she lied Corvus directly in the eyes. A member of her own clan and an investigator who was acting in accordance with not just my orders, but also orders of Seraphal. Son, it is a well-known fact that Corvus has some issues with respecting her, and he might be exaggerating the facts by some margin. Venelana voiced her opinion, visibly angering Cersex by such thing, along with Grayfia as well. I understand that it is hard for a parent to admit, but perhaps, if you really do doubt my own words, then go and ask Sona with Tsubaki, they'll confirm. Corvus made his way forward towards his father and grandparents. And it is true that I don't respect Rias, but that is only because she and her peerage have proven themselves not really worthy of respect. With this scheme they've been trying to pull off. Corvus, I am glad you came. Cersex greeted his son with a smile. My apologies for dragging you out of Kyoto. It is nothing, father. Corvus assured his father, turning to his grandparents. Now, is there even a reason for you to question my words, I wonder? Xeoticus eyed his grandson, along with his wife. They loved their older son and his wife, along with their younger grandson, but with Corvus things were always difficult with Corvinus for them. He was unlike any other high-class young devil, disrespecting traditions of respect towards the chosen heir and living within the household and following the laws and orders that were set. Instead, he lived in human world with his peerage and was very rarely in underworld at all, marking himself as a rebel and outcast of the society and family. And for some reason, he had a full trust of 4 great devil kings and somehow has earned himself a reputation among the heads of other houses, which wasn't exploitable by them, as it was made perfectly clear that Corvus was on his own and the rest of Gremory had very little to do with him. And then there were rumors of Corvinus killing previous Red Dragon Emperor if that was the case, that a member of their family defeated one of the most legendary creatures ever exited, and that it wasn't Rias devils would be asking a very good question of why Corvinus wasn't he appointed as heir and was actually deliberately removed from the line of succession, even if he didn't have the power of destruction in his veins. Xeoticus sighed and spoke up. Corvus, you have to understand that because of your antics, your word might be put in question. Xeoticus spoke, Cersex not liking where this was going to. If you were acting accordingly to traditions, then there wouldn't be even the slightest doubt in your words. But because of your association with yokais and marrying one of them, her name is Kunu, and I would appreciate if you showed respect to her and her mother. Corvus spoke in defense of his future wife and mother-in-law. They are not just some yokais, but rulers of Kyoto factions and close friends to Shinto gods, not to mention that I see them as my family. So I suggest you choose your next words with better care. Watch your words, boy. Venelana said with accusing tone. Your disrespect to Rias is one thing, but to address your grandparents, much less head of your clan, is something that can be overlooked. And we have the right to say what we believe is right about your unhealthy infatuation with that fox you call your bride. And she can hardly be called your bride, for you haven't actually asked for permission from us. He asked it from me, his father. Sirzex spoke in now cold voice, having had enough. And I've given him my blessing, and I genuinely support them both. Corvus is right on all accords, and I won't stand for you doubting the words of my son and showing such disrespect to both him and Kunu. And if I am being completely honest with you, father, then I believe that making Rias an heiress of the house just because of her possessing a power of destruction was a mistake. That took both of them by shock, with Venelana voicing her frustration. Sirzex, you can possibly. Corvus possesses all the qualities needed in an heir and a leader of House of Gremory, and just because he doesn't show off, as most of young devils do, or participates in raiding games. Sirzex was adamant. Just because he didn't inherit the power of destruction doesn't determine his true power and potential, nor does it make him inferior to Rias. If anything, he is even more of a Gremory than Rias, because he actually possesses the power of Gremory, despite your claims. Now, if you have nothing new to say to me, get out of my office. Sirzex released a small portion of his power for intimidation. Xioticus and Venelana understood that there shall be no compromise with their own son, and so, they decided to simply leave, through teleporting away. Sirzex sighed from frustration and spoke up again. I swear, even after so many years, they still believe that I'll just take their word on as if I am still a little kid. Sirzex rubbed his temples. I am beginning to think that they still can understand that I am no longer their son and have a responsibility before all devils. Handing over the punishment of Rias over to them would undermine my whole position as a great devil king. You don't need to tell me that, Dad. Corvus said sympathetically. Favoritism is one thing that you can afford in this game. One of the reasons why I tried to avoid asking for your help, along with not wanting to be an abuse to you and Mom. Sirzex chuckled to it, and looked at his smiling son. If anything, you've always made me and Grayfia proud, Corvus. Sirzex smiled to him, though I will admit that I feel a little sad that you never allowed your old man flex his muscles and show off a little. If you had ever been allowed to do so, Sirzex, then we would have to be explaining to the rest of the world where half of Asia with Japan is. Grayfia spoke up critically, getting a pout from her husband. And yes, you've never been an abuse to us both, Corvus. If anything, we couldn't have asked for a better son. Hey, just wait until Millicast grows up a little. That kid is going to overshadow me in no time. Corvus joked. Anyway, you want to talk, Dad? Well, first off, I wanted to ask you if things were going well with Kunu, because everything is fine between them, dear. A new soundproofing of the room, that is all. Grayfia quickly intervened, getting Corvus to sigh. And we have nothing to worry about them, I am sure of it. Oh, that is a relief. Sirzex said with a cheesy smile. Because Yusaka was practically on high alert already because of you too. I am well aware of the fact, I assure you. Corvus was glad that he was in the hat, and it covered up his intense blush. And aside from that one, there is also one more thing that I wanted to ask you about. Sirzex spoke up once more. After Azazel and IV reached a conclusion in our talks, he said that the group with which UV established a ceasefire were also holding a hostage, a former church nun, excommunicated for healing a devil. Corvus actually paid attention to that one last part, because it was something that he has heard a couple of times already, only it didn't involve healing, but involved the devil. A couple of his friends were telling him about it, and Corvus took notice, because he wasn't someone who liked devils using humans senselessly for their own amusement. And after he and his queen did a little digging, all the threads were actually leading to a certain somebody he knew, Diodora Astaroth, heir to Astaroth family and Ajuka-'s little brother. If he were involved in that one too, then there could be a possibility of him also having a part in Fallen Angel's plan. Corvus spoke up. I've heard a couple rumors about nuns being kicked out because of a devil. Corvus stated. I've checked them out, and it would seem that the devil causing all of that is Diodora Astaroth, Ajuka-'s little brother. Do you have any solid proof to it? Sirzex asked him. Nothing too valid, only rumors and a couple of indirect evidences. Corvus stated. Plus, because he only corrupts them and not outright attacks or kidnaps them, there is nothing that can be done about him. Well, that nun possesses twilight healing, and Azazel, as a sign of his apology, is going to give her fate to decide. Sirzex stated. I was wondering what you will do about it. I'll look after the girl and help her out, but I am not planning on expanding my peerage any further for now. Corvus explained. I've got no desire to turn people into devils without their full consent, as you know. Good enough for me. I simply wanted to know about it. Sirzex nodded. Now, how about we all three go and... Suddenly, A loud alarm sound began ringing throughout the room and Corvus quickly took his phone up and checked. And it was just what he had feared. Damn. He cursed, creating a circle beneath him. Sorry, Dad, but next time. Looks like IV jinxed my new pawn. And with that he was gone in a second, leaving his father and mother. Well, that was awkward. Surzek stated, looking at his wife, who, much to his fear and surprise, was holding a harisen. Gee Grayfia, why are you holding it in your hands? Dear Surzek, there is a certain issue I would like to address. Grayfia said in her more light-hearted tone, which was a signal for Surzek to start praying for forgiveness. Now, about this assignment you've given to our son, Ko S. Park. As Corvus teleported right into the same place where he saved Issei, he was immediately forced to draw out his Kuroitsuki and cut down a flying blue light spear, which he did right in a millisecond as it was about to him. Gremory always liked having this weapon with him, even if using it in combat meant that he couldn't cast any magic because of its curse, not that he needed most of the times, because his reacting and speed were so high that during one of the sparring matches with his knight, they managed to create an empty space during the rainfall, which they maintained for a minute straight, cutting out all raindrops with their swords. But right now, he was actually not looking back at his past, but a man wearing a fedora and a trench coat. And behind Corvus was Issei with the remote. After looking around, Corvus spoke up. Okay, maybe I am having a déjà vu, but I think I've totally been in this place before. He said jokingly, looking back at Issei. Say Issei, are you having the same weird feeling as I do? And before Issei could answer, Corvus pushed him out of the way with his right arm and in midair, cut a flying revolver bullet, which was intended for his new pawn. And after that, Corvus spoke again. Alright, now I know that I do have a déjà vu. And with that said, Corvus looked at the guy who was shooting. Well, I'll be damned. ISNT that my favorite deranged serial asshole exorcist, Fried Selzen. My, you do remember me. I am touched. He spoke in his usual tone. And now I can kill you knowing that you know who killed your shitty devil ass. He pointed a gun at him. Only after you wash your teeth and mouth, which won't be happening. And with that, Corvus looked at a fallen angel in the fedora. Okay, Trench, there is only one guy who can wear a cool hat and make it look solid badass, and that's me. So I suggest you tell me who you are and then ship you fedora ass out of here, before I send it somewhere in Africa, cause folks there could really use some humanitarian help, and you are just the right stuff to send to the cannibals only. Pardon me, I was hoping that I would get your attention, Blood Raven. Fallen Angel spoke. My name is Donasik, and, as you may have already guessed, I am one of the local fallen angels, sent here by Azazel with a special task. Yeah, and I recall establishing a ceasefire with your boss, Rainier, right in this exact spot just a couple of hours ago. Heck, you are even standing in the exact spot where she stood. Corvus pointed out. Damn, it really is a déjà vu. So anyway, care to elaborate? What are you doing here, threatening this kid and getting my attention? Because the terms were that no side attacks the other, or the peace is off. Oh, those were the conditions you've managed to arrange with Rainier. But, unfortunately, me and my friends here aren't exactly going to follow them. Donasik snapped his fingers, and out of the bushes and outside a barrier came a large group of stray exorcists, surrounding the pair. Issei was a bit frightened, but was good enough not show it, summoning up his sacred gear. As for Corvus, he wasn't exactly impressed. In fact, he actually wondered why the temperature in the air was dropping. Fried spoke up. Oh, look at that. Looks like the party is about to start, and the main event is slicing the devil bastard son of bitch right here. He said, pointing a light sword at him. Now, unlike Calawarner and Rainier, I am not frightened of your reputation, Blood Raven. Donasik warned him. And my colleagues here too, and because you became a nuisance to my master, you and this little boy will have to die. Any last words? Actually, IV got a question. Corvus stated. Am I the only one who is feeling a bit cold right now? Huh, actually it is a bit cold to Fried was suddenly cut off. And the reason to that was a sudden blizzard that just came out of nowhere and was literally attacking the exorcists and fallen angel, was sharp as spears icicles, frost spikes out of the ground and all-out storming wind. Issei and Corvus stood still, as the blizzard wasn't even touching them in the slightest. Then suddenly, a dozen of exorcists that managed to escape the bombardment were struck down by an unknown attacker, who appeared only after the group fell a second after the strike. And then another group were getting slaughtered by two fast-moving figures with blades, who were cutting down their foes with deadly precision, leaving no one alive. And once all the exorcists were dealt with, the one that caused this entire blizzard revealed herself in form of young beautiful-looking woman in her earliest 20s, with long blue hair and same alluring blue eyes with well-endowed body, wearing a military-style uniform for women and a rapier on the hip. The man that attacked the first group was also coming closer to the pair, wearing dark green kimono with red belt and 3 sheaths on the hip. He had green hair and one eye closed with a scar, wearing a bandana and having one of his swords right in his mouth and the other 2 are in his arms. And lastly, the pair of last attackers was also closing the distance, now seen clear as day. They were 2 young-looking girls in school-like attire and with katanas as their weapons, looking very much alike, akin to sister, but with several differences, for one of them had long black hair and red eyes, while the other, younger-looking one, had short hair in twin-tail fashion and black eyes. As the group closed in the distance, green-haired swordsman spoke, with muffled voice. "Sorry for the intrusion, but there is no chance that we will allow you to even touch our boss," he said, positioning himself for the attack. "So if you want to survive, then I suggest you surrender now. Unless, of course, you deliberately seek your own death." Blue-haired woman spoke, summoning more icicles and pointing them at Donaseek. "Then, in that case, feel free to try your luck." And in the matter of a second, both raven-haired girls were right behind Donaseek, with their swords ready and waiting for his move, with no killing intent being leaked out. But they were clearly ready for killing. Issei finally spoke up. "Corvus, who are those guys?" Corvus simply grinned. "They are my family, Issei," he stated proudly. "My team, my comrades and family. My own peerage members." Corvus with a smile looked as his knight Rorinoa Zoro readied his 3 swords, 2 pawns Akame and Kurom prepared their weapons and how his queen Death casted more ice, awaiting his command or Donaseek to make a move. Corvus grinned, looking at them. "Good to see you guys." Chapter 4. Ko-S Park. The situation in the park has changed drastically in favor of Bloodraven, with the arrival of his friends and complete decimation of stray exorcists, led by Freed. All of them were now frozen over, with no exception, and this ice wasn't going to melt for a very long time. If anything, Corvus' queen, Death, knew a lot about freezing people and how to best utilize said element in her favor and with the deadliest proficiency and effectiveness. And she was standing near Corvus' most recent addition to his group, Issei Hayato, practically as a guardian, whilst Akame, Kurom and Rorinoa were surrounding the last remaining assailant, with Corvus holding in his left hand his trust sword Kuroitsuki and facing the man right in front. Once arrogant and cocky grinning fallen angel was now trying to see a way out of this mess, but was failing to see any option which didn't end with him losing a limb, or his life. But in reality it was much worse for him, because any option he would choose would immediately end up being his fatal mistake, and the only last choice he was left with was complying with much stronger adversary. Corvus, seeing that his team was ready if things were to hit south, spoke up. "Alright, Trench, seeing how now you realize your real situation, would you kindly answer a couple of questions that I have?" Corvus was acting polite for now. "If you do, then I can promise that you won't be killed, at least not here and not by my or any of my friends' hands, that is. And what makes you think that I'll say anything to you, son of Lucifer?" Donaseek said, putting up front. "During the times of Great War, I've killed plenty of your kind, and no little runt and his little gang from kindergarten will scare a veteran like me. Please, I can smell veterans from miles away, and you are no war hero." Death voiced herself. "And just for your information, those 2 girls may be pawns, but with their skills in combat they have killed opponents equal to that of a 6-winged fallen angels, and their enemies didn't even see them coming. And the guy with 3 swords could wipe out those exorcists in under a minute, and take a coffee break in the said minute. As for me, you already know enough to fear us all, and they aren't even my entire group," Corvus warned him. "But they are more than enough to wipe out this entire town's supernatural population 10 times over with 7 ways from Sunday, and do all of that within 2 hours with a coffee break in said hours. But it would seem that you didn't do research properly, because any fallen angel who is loyal to Azazel knows about me and my peerage, and just what we are capable of. And if you aren't one of Azazel's underlings, then you probably one of Kokabil's subordinates." Donaseek paled in a moment's notice, proving to Corvus that his guess was right. "How the hell do you know my master?" Donaseek questioned Corvus. "We crossed paths a couple of years ago, after he wiped out a little community of devils in France," Corvus recalled. "Plus, in my line of work, it's imperative to know at least the basic information about the leaders of different factions and pantheons in supernatural world. Now I've answered your question, now you'll answer a couple of mine in return. Was it Kokabil who gave Rainer orders to attack and kill sacred gear users, faking it as Azazel's orders?" Donaseek finally understood that he was done for, and the only thing that could save him now was complying with Corvinus. "Yes, I've delivered them myself to her," he answered. "Was Kokabil trying to provoke heiresses of Gremry and Citri through killing those sacred gear users?" Corvus asked him again. "Yeah, he said that he wanted to see what they could do." Fallen Angel confirmed. "Why would he do something like that?" Issei asked an obvious question. "Kokabil is obsessed with restarting a great war, and he must pick this place as a starting point." Corvus answered. 2 heiresses of powerful clans of devils, not to mention that they are both younger sisters to current great devil kings. Their death at the hands of a cadre would be more than enough for a new war to start all over again. And once devils and fallen angels start battling each other, it will surely draw angels into the fray as well. Now I've got one last question. Did he leave any clues or directions on where he can be at the moment? No, he said that after we've dealt with sacred gear users we are to stay in town and wait for his personal arrival. Donaseek said. Now, are you going to let me go? Sorry, that wasn't the part of the deal. Corvus stated, scaring Donaseek. Is death on it? And with a wave of a palm, around Donaseek immediately was created an intense blizzard, which incapacitated and froze him in the matter of a second. What a weakling, I must say, after what we've been through. Fighting someone as weak as them feels more like bullying a kindergarten children. Tell me that I am not the only one who feels that way, I'll say. Zoro took the swords back in the sheaths. That's what you get after the kind of training and fights we've been through. Hell, and here I thought that Corvus was sent here because it was someone like Kokabeel or Crozeri Asmodeus. But no, it were just these rookies. Talk about pointless worrying. At least they are dealt with. That is already good. Akane voiced her opinion, sheathing her sword, along with her sister, looking at Issei with questioning eye. Who are you? How do you have our communicator? Issei looked a little surprised, when he noticed how all of the arrivers turned their eyes on him. Corvus decided to take up the initiative. It's alright, guys. I gave him our comm, in case if he were attacked. Corvus spoke, sighing and turning to Issei. He is the newest addition to our group. That statement surprised everyone, even seemingly emotionless Akane and Kyurem, who looked with widened eyes at Issei. Isdeth was the first one to voice her thoughts out in the open. Corvus, care to repeat that one? Isdeth asked him. I just don't see how could you even consider doing something like without us knowing about it. For as long as I've known you, you've rarely done something so spontaneous without thinking things through. And when it came to us, your peerage, have you suddenly decided to turn your back on your principles? No, he didn't turn his back on them. Issei spoke up, drawing the eyes of everyone. He simply had no other choice. It was either making me his pawn or me dying from a light spear, so don't disrespect him. If anything, he saved my life, twice already and, Issei. Corvus spoke up, calming him. It's okay, kid, don't sweat over such a thing. Give me 20 minutes, guys, and I'll explain the whole thing. 20 minutes later, Corvus group listened carefully, and after he explained the whole situation here, everything became clear as day to all of them. Now Isdeth felt a little bad for distrusting her king like that, but Corvinus assured her that everything was fine and it was her right to question and judge him and the decisions he makes, along with all the other things he does. Everyone in Corvus' team had the right to do so, and it was the fundamental in their code and principles. As for Rias and her scheming, well, I always knew she was a bitch. And I always told you so. Isdeth recalled to Corvus. Now I have the proof of that, but she actually surprised me here. To openly lie right in the eyes of an official representative of 4 Great Devils King and think that she will get away with that. I am surprised that you haven't turned her yet into a black stain on the wall. Sorry, can do that one? Corvus sighed with frustration. I'll have to pay for cleaning the wall afterwards, and she has decorated it all in Tudor style, and just a meter of those paintings costs just as much as my coat. Gotta say I had a feeling that something smelled fishy here, but to go as far as sacrifice her own clients for a glimmer of a chance is really dumb. Roranoa commented. By the way, you've mentioned her Nightboy or something. How is he? If you are thinking about dueling him, then sorry, but he isn't much of a challenge. Zoro growled in disappointment. He is fiercely loyal to Rias, to the point where he outright attacked with a sword me after Rias, and exchanged a couple of snarky remarks. Akane and Kyurem, who were munching on some snacks all this time, suddenly stopped and turned their heads to Corvus and asked simultaneously. A bit of killing intent was coming out of them. Where is he? Corvus already knew what that meant. Akane, Kyurem, Danti. Corvus ordered immediately, said sisters looked a little disappointed. You sure, Ni? Kyurem looked with a bit of puppy eyes at Corvus. Maybe, just a little bit. Kyurem, he isn't worth your time. Your time as well, Akane. Corvus assured them, turning to slightly stunned Issei. Issei, meet my team. They are my family and my greatest treasure I could ask for in this or any life. Pleased to meet you. Issei bowed to them. The pair of lovely ladies with a bit of protectiveness are Akane and Kyurem. Corvus introduced them, Issei bowing to them. We met about 10 years ago in Kyoto, when they were attacked by a mob because of their heritage. Zoro and I saved them. Heritage? Issei asked them. We weren't normal humans. Akane spoke in calm and seemingly emotionless voice. Our father was a human, but our mother is a Karasa Tengu, a raven Yukai, and is a leader of Karasa commune in Kyoto. Oh, I see. Issei understood. Sorry if I offended you. You just look just like any ordinary cute girls, and I found it strange that you would be any different from others. Kyurem cocked her head to Issei and spoke up. I like you already? She said, smiling and blushing. Yukais and half-races connected to them are capable of hiding their features through a minor transformation. Isdeth explained. Akane and Kyurem were half-humans, so they only inherited their mother's wings, which they can hide just fine. At that moment, both Akane and Kyurem revealed their black raven wings behind their backs. Look quite like those that fallen angels have. Yeah, they are almost alike, Issei admitted, with girls folding their wings back. By the way, what pieces are you two? We are pawns, but our role in the team is mostly diversions, recon and assassinations. Akane explained. If needed, we can back up the others in open fighting too, but Corvus wants us to stick to our primary tasks. Despite the nature of evil pieces, it doesn't directly determine how does that piece or the other battles. Corvus spoke up. For an example, one of my bishops, a supporting type and a magic-focused piece, prefers to fight up close and personal and is capable of beating down rooks, bishops, knights and even queens all by himself with just his skills in fire magic. And that's without his Logia Inferno, a sacred gear he possesses that allows him to control fire element to practically a molecular level. Wow, he sounds like a freaking monster. Issei commented. He is actually a pretty nice and polite guy, though he does have some trouble with sleeping. Isdeath commented. By the way, my name is Isdeath and I am Corvinus Queen. Aside from being second strongest member of the team, I also act as tactician and commander whenever Corvus is unavailable. Isdeath also possesses one of the top-tier counter Longinus sacred gears, Demon S Extract. Corvus chimed in. That sacred gear grants her an absolute control over the ice and allows her to generate it in any conditions and in any quantity and size. Aside from that, she is also the most powerful member of the team. Wait, what does counter Longinus means, by the way? Issei asked an obvious question. While there are Longinus-class sacred gears, with the potential of killing gods and satans, there are also several unique sacred gears that are capable of not just holding their own against these kinds of sacred gears, but also defeat them. My sacred gear is just like that, hence the name counter Longinus. Isdeath explained. From what we know, there are only 7 counter Longinus sacred gears, and each is just as powerful as their counterparts, or even stronger, depending on the user and how much practice he has with it. And aside from that, they are capable of detecting Longinus users through warning their user's sixth sense, like right now. Isdeath admitted, looking with curious eye at Issei. Mind telling us what Longinus you have? Well, from what Corvus told me, IV got a boosted gear. Issei summoned up his gauntlet, after concentrating. Isdeath and Zoro widened their eyes, looking at the red gauntlet, and almost not believing their own eyes. They simply couldn't believe that their newest member of the group was now the current Red Dragon Emperor, especially considering how Corvinus personally has killed the last one, who was a weakling by any means, as he has been able to knock out of commission half of Corvus' peerage for a couple of weeks, including Akame and Kirom, who were the first ones to attack that guy. It took Corvinus full power to take him down. Their duel would be destroyed not just Kyoto, a dozen more cities nearby if they were covered by a powerful barrier put by Surzex and his wife. Zoro was the first to speak up. Well, ILLB. He chuckled. Kid, did you know that our boss has actually killed the last owner of this red glove you are wearing right now? Yeah, Corvus told me about and Drake confirmed it. Gauntlet disappeared. And Drake isn't too happy about this situation, to be fair. I would be surprised if he was alright about it. Dragons are prideful creatures. Zoro commented. By the way, my name is Roranoa Zoro. I am a knight and a rival of Corvus. A rival? Issei was interested in that one. You may not really noticed it, but those 3 swords Corvus has aren't just for show. Roranoa spoke, pointing at his king. Aside from his abilities as a devil and all the trainings he has done in Kyoto and with Shinto gods, Corvus is actually one of Underworld's top swordsmen, sharing the spot with me. While I perfected the Santoryu, or 3-sword style, Corvus is my equal when it comes to fighting with one sword. He and I both were trained by one master, and he is considered by many to be the world's best swordsman. Oh yeah, Kiba mentioned that he tried to become a student of the same master as Corvus, only that guy turned him down. Issei recalled. I gotta say, Kiba sounded pretty aggravated that Corvus was trained by that guy instead of him. Prince Charming probably sees himself as a top-tier knight because of his sacred gear, Sword Birth, that grants him the power to create demonic swords with various different properties. But simply having an infinite amount of swords doesn't mean that they will grant him victory. Corvus stated with knowledge, laying his left hand on Kuroitsuki. IV tested out his primary sword, Holy Eraser, and I can say that he has a long way to go in terms of craftsmanship and mastering his sacred gear. And from what IV felt from him, he has got some emotional scars in need of healing. In fact, Rias' whole peerage is like that. Aren't we are the same as they are? Isdeath asked Corvinus. No, Isdeath. Corvus stated. I made you and the others into the devils after you were genuinely okay with it, and when there were no factors that could affect your judgment and decisions. Rias simply took the advantage of their state and made them into her servants. If there is one thing that separates me from he is that I lead not by deception or scheming. And if I did, I wouldn't be worthy to wear this hat. Corvus tipped his hat a little. Now let us get out of here. We'll walk you home, Issei, just to be safe that no one else decides to sneak up and attack you. Okay, but what about them? Issei pointed at all knocked out exorcists and the fallen angels. You can just leave them out here, can you? Don't worry about it. I am sure that Rias' peerage here will be sufficient enough to handle taking out trash, Isdeath carefree stated, turning towards the bushes on the far side of a park. Did you really think that we won't notice you? I am seriously beginning to think that Rias' stupidity influences her own peerage the same way it does with her mind. That statement was enough to provoke actions on the half of Rias' servants, specifically, from her knight who got out of the bushes in one jump and drew out his sword Holy Eraser, pointing it out towards Isdeath and the rest of Corvus' group. And in another minute from there walked out Akino and Kaneko, both also looking displeased from the mocking and disrespect that Corvus and his servants have showed towards Rias throughout all this time. For them, to hear their beloved king being disrespected in such way and then being mocked by someone who seemingly knows not a single thing about her and doesn't respect her as a future leader of Gremory clan, especially considering that Corvus would have to obey her in the future, despite his parents being the strongest devils in existence. Kiba was the first one to voice out his opinion on the matter. Corvinus Gremory, he said in official tone, getting Corvus' attention. As a knight of Rias Gremory, I demand that you take back what you and your servants have just said about her. Otherwise, I'll be forced to teach you to respect her. Corvus simply scoffed and looked at the boy, taking a couple of steps and positioning himself in the front of his group. He eyed the entire group and spoke up after some time. While I do admit that your loyalty towards Rias is admirable, though it is blinded, in my opinion. Corvus turned his voice into serious mode. However, if you think that I'll simply comply with your demands, then you clearly didn't learn a single thing about me. And don't call my comrades my servants. They've got the full right to disagree with me, and unlike Rias, I didn't trick them into joining up my peerage, using promises of family, kindness and equality. Rias didn't trick any one of us into joining up, and we've chosen this path willingly. Akino spoke up passionately. And she treats us with kindness and respect. She has given us home and family, and she has sacrificed quite a lot for us, while I doubt that you've sacrificed anything for anybody. Sacrificed? Is Death asked Akino, getting her attention. And just what did she sacrifice for you three? Her evil pieces and some spare rooms in her house? That hardly can be called a sacrifice, more like providing her servants with place to live. If you want to know something, Priestess of Thunder, when Corvus found me, I was captured by slavers, who wanted to sell us in the underworld to high-class devils. After the peaceful negotiations have failed, Corvus resorted to violence to save me and the others. And he did beat those guys, but at a cost of getting badly injured and nearly dying, just for a dozen of random slaves. That was 8 years ago, and a year later, after IV got to learn him better and what kind of person he was, IV willingly joined up with him as his queen. So here is a free advice, girl. Don't talk trash about Corvus when you clearly don't know a thing about him. Just because he is a son of our current Lucifer doesn't gives him the right to judge Rias for her actions. Akino continued to push forward. Isdeath was about to retort, but Corvus raised his hand and Isdeath decided not to continue. Corvus decided to speak up. Isdeath, you and the others walk east say to home. Corvus commanded. It's late, and his parents must be worried sick about him. Please apologize on my behalf and tell them that I will pay them visit tomorrow to explain why IV kept their son occupied for so long. And what about you? She asked right away. I'll stay and explain a couple of things to Rias peerage. Corvus assured. After you've done it, do please drop by Kunu's home and explain how things are here, if it's not too hard for you. I had literally no time today to call her, so she must be worried sick. And afterwards the team is dismissed for the vacation, as we've talked about earlier. Alright, Zoro, walk the kid and explain to his parents what was the hold-up. Akane, Kyurem, go in Kyoto and inform Kunu and the others about things here. Isdeath commanded. I'll stay and keep Corvus company here. She ordered and came closer to Corvus and stood side by side. Okay, lead the way, kid. Zoro and Issei went ahead. Understood. Akane replied, and she together with Kyurem opened up a portal and walked right into there. Corvus turned to Isdeath and asked her, worried that I might get attacked by them? Gremory asked her. More like preserving you from any gals that might try and sneak their way into your heart. Isdeath half seriously explained. Plus, Kunu and I don't really trust Rias Queen, not after seeing how she was all over you during the announcement party. Corvus raised an eyebrow, recalling if something like that really did happen during the announcement party. He very well recalled that during that party he was mostly talking with Serorg Bale, his old and good friend/rival, discussing things in the human world and underworld. Then he was also accompanying Kunu and her mother, being with them at all times and not stepping away for a moment. At the time, Corvus decided not to involve his peerage into the spotlight, so they stayed in Kyoto, watching over the city while he was out partying. Aside from also his parents, he did recall meeting up with Rias and her queen Akino there, but he only written it off as a side note, and spent most of the time with Kunu, Yasaka and his parents. Though, it could be possible that Akino was trying her best to get Corvinus' attention back that day, but he was most probably working on auto mode with her, and all the other girls that wished to get closer to him. Kunu must have taken Akino's advances quite seriously, especially considering how she and her mother soon became a laughingstock of the High Devil Society because Rias and her jokes. And after that Kunu told the others in Corvus' team about how Akino was advancing on Corvus. If anything, Corvus shouldn't be surprised, for Kunu and his group were very close friends for a very long time, practically from the very start up. Isdeath in particular was kinda like a big sister to Kunu and a close friend for a very long time. In fact, Isdeath really does act as a leader or sister to the rest of the team whenever Corvus is away or does something that requires him only. As for the others, in Kyoto and with Shinto factions, yokais and several other factions, Corvus' peerage has showed themselves as one the best to get things right and solve serious problems. While working mostly outside of most devils' radars, Corvus' team already got into the spotlight of both Grigori and Heaven, along with several other pantheons from various countries, like Greek Olympus and Norse Asgard. Corvus personally has met a couple of powerhouses in this world, and it is safe to say that when someone thinks that they are the strongest, he can say that he has met those that sit proudly on the top of food chain. The main reason as to why Corvus peerage isn't really well known among the devils is because he doesn't really often appear in Underworld, and Corvus is yet to actually play his first raiding game, even though he has come in age a long while ago and his peerage is more than capable of holding their own against even the veterans of the game. In fact, during a joint training between Surzex and Corvus peerages, which simulated a raiding game, Corvus team have stood their ground for whole 38 minutes, knocking out Sir to second, Enka and Beowulf in the process. Zoro himself kept Okita occupied for most of the time, and not allowing him to take part in battle, but was defeated nearly at the end of training. Grayfia was had to stand her ground against her own son, showing that he could give his mother a serious run for her money, keeping up with her and dishing out quite some damage. In fact, Surzex himself admitted that in an event if Corvus and Grayfia were to battle seriously to the death, then Grayfia might win, but only by a very small margin due to her experience and power. Still, the match was won by Surzex's team, but Corvus showed that his team could hold their own in the worst possible situations and even against superior enemy. That was 3 years ago, and a couple of things have changed since then, including Corvus himself, gaining the name of Bloodraven after one battle that changed him forever. Turning towards Aquino and the others, Corvus spoke up. Okay, from what I understand, you three think that the reasons as to why I hate Rias so much is that she is an heiress of clan, loved by her parents, and all in the same category. Corvus stated the facts. And you think that the fact that I am a son of current Lucifer makes me think that I can act as I wish, right? Why else would you be such a prick to Rias? Kaneko spoke up. Just because your father is a big shot doesn't he make you just as important as you think? Corvus actually smirked at Kaneko's comment, as if she didn't know something that he knew. You know, Chiron, you are actually right. Corvus surprised everyone of Rias' peerage with what he said just now, especially Kaneko. Just because I am Lucifer's son means nothing to me, really, or any of my friends. Where did you learn that name? She asked him directly. From someone I trust. Corvus simply stated. Someone who sacrificed quite a lot to save her little sister, preparing to give up even her own life for the sake of the only person she had as a family. It's death, and I intervened back then and cleared up the mess before one of the few remaining Nekisha would lose her life. And after that, I've taken her into my family, not as servant, but as friend and companion, until she herself asked me to make her my second bishop. Didn't you master ever tell you about it, despite how many times she tried to contact you and wasn't he allowed to buy Rias? Or she would report that she was trying to kidnap you. Makes you think about your master, doesn't he it? Kaneko remained silent. What is your point, Corvus? Kiba asked him directly. We've already understood that you have no respect for Rias and us, but that doesn't give you the right to judge her, as if you are better than she is. Charming, you are right that I don't respect you three in the slightest. Corvus admitted. You've plotted to kill an innocent guy, who had nothing to do with our world. You've let these murderers get away with killing innocent people on your territory. I can understand that I may sound hypocritical, seeing that I am a devil, just like Rias, and I am supposed to act just like she and others. However, there is a significant difference between me and Rias in one single factor. And what that factor may be? Aquino asked him. Rias has never been a family black sheep and constant target. Corvus stated. You think that being a son of Lucifer is all great and wonderful? Let me tell it isn't, especially if your father and mother have just as much enemies as they have. Do you think that being a son of Lucifer and strongest queen instantly granted me immense power, like with Milikas? When I was born, it was discovered that not only did I not inherit my father's power, but I was born with incredibly low magical potential. It took me 10 years of intense training, meditations and practice to actually activate my true inherent power and potential, and that happened when I was 16 years old. And meanwhile Rias was growing up without any death threats, magical problems, or without old Satan faction kidnapping her at an age of 6 and nearly killing her in process. Do you think that I've left Underworld because I simply wanted? No, I left it because I was afraid that the same thing would happen all over again. But only then I wouldn't have my great-grandfather saving my life. He is also the same guy who gave me this hat, and told me that just because of my physical weakness I should let the same thing happen with me. And because of that I stayed here, in human world, and trained, practiced, studied and grew stronger and more powerful. I've been in this world for 15 years, making sure that what happened to me when I was 6 wouldn't happen again, and over these years I've mastered not only devil's magic, but several other kinds of magical arts, some to the point of being acknowledged by gods themselves as the absolute master. And during this time, I've understood the true way of Gremry clan, which apparently have been forgotten by Rias and her parents. True way? Kiba asked. Gremry clan has always been as it is now. What House of Gremry now and what it was when my great-grandfather ruled it are two completely separate entities. True Gremry believed in kindness towards everyone, not simply showing when to gain something. He and I see the value of real honor and helping to others at an expense of others. We don't turn people into our servants just because of our wish. House of Gremry was once hailed not just for their immense kindness towards their subjects, but as leaders and heroes, who led by example and never exploited their friends and mortals. Even God feared my great-grandfather not just because he is one of the strongest devils alive to date, but also because he is a Gremry. Corvus spoke passionately. House of Gremry now is a sick and twisted version of what it once was and for what it once stood for. And your master is a clear representation of it, scheming, spoiled, prideful and arrogant, hiding behind a facade of kindness. But make just one step away from her, and she'll reveal her real nature. That is the reason as to why I hate Rias, and why I'll never see her as Gremry in my eyes. With that said, Corvus and his death turned away and left them three in the park, with serious questions in their minds now being raised. Chapter 5. On the streets of Kuo. A trio of devils exited the hotel they were staying in, and were now on their way towards Issei's house. After Zoro walked Issei home, Corvus and his death soon caught up with him, through using their calm-s built-in system of tracking down members of peerage. Recalling that Corvus Knight had some serious trouble with directions and finding places outside, and sometimes within, his eyesight. Tracking system was installed just for these measures, along with maps of every city and help how to get to the point. Really handy when in an all-new town or city, especially when you don't want to rely on help of a certain red-haired heiress, who has a tendency of playing dirty when it comes to Corvus and his friends. Besides, they simply had no desire to interact with Rias and her peerage, especially after Corvus' speech to them. Bloodraven had that built up in him for quite some time now and decided that it was as good as any to finally let loose of it, even if it was to those punks. He and his friends were finding it humorous that those kids thought that they could take them on so boldly. If only those guys knew with just what kind of group they were dealing with. Corvus alone has more than enough power to wipe out this town with everyone in it without much effort, if he got pissed and serious. All this time here, he really had held back his real power and not resorting to the inherited power of Gremry, though it wasn't his only solution to dealing with enemies, as he still possessed quite the number of powers and knowledge at his own personal disposal, including of course his mastery of sword, Kurotsuki and Shiratsuki, his second katana on his right, may have been his primary weapons of choice and his mastery of them was great, but his main, most efficient and powerful weapon, was the one on his back. Much longer than his katanas and just under Corvus' actual height, who stood at 1.87 meters. The sword possessed a long slightly curved blade with a single edge, with a handle and a guard in proportionate size to weapon, while it was covered in special shroud, provided by Amaterasu to keep this weapon's power hidden. The last time Corvus actually unsheathed this weapon was half a year ago, when he had to deal with a specially powerful stray devil, who died after a single strike from this weapon, which wasn't surprising, considering the fact that this sword is one of strongest in the entire world. As the group moved through the town, Corvus noticed the energy sensing that they were followed. He sighed, as he recognized this magical signature. That queen, does she not learn? Corvus stopped and asked nobody in particular, turning to one of the passages between the houses. Isn't that Rias queen spying on us again? Zoro noted. Didn't she learn already? UV noticed it too? His death got a nod from both guys. Some people seem to be bad in learning some basic stuff. His death summoned up magical circle and was beginning to cast a spell. Should I give her a little scare and let her run away? Nah, no need for that. Corvus began to walk towards their observer. I'll be right back. We may have a tag along with us today. As he walked and was now facing a dead end, Corvus simply looked around and fixated his view on a particular point. He sighed and talked. Well, if you want to play it like that, he raised his right hand. I'll just have to teach you another lesson. And he snapped his fingers. In the very next second from the clear sky came out a white jolt of lightning, striking the ground and creating around observer a literal lightning fence, which wasn't permitting her to leave it. And at the same time a conceiving spell has been dispersed, and it revealed a smiling voluptuous persona of Akino Himejima. She spoke in her usual manner. Oh my, it seems like you've found me. Akino put a hand to her cheek, as she liked to do. What a misfortune, oh my. Corvus looked at her with unimpressed look before speaking up. Mind telling me what are you doing here, tailing me and my team? Corvus asked her. And do please be quick about. I've got an appointment soon. Is it wrong for a girl to be interested in an interesting person? Akino asked, looking at the lightnings binding her. I didn't know you were into lightnings. Did you know that this is my favorite element? Those sparks that you produce can hardly be called lightnings. Corvus critically spoke, getting a pout from Akino. I've mastered several elements, lighting and wind being my strongest elements, so I know when I see someone who doesn't can bring out her full power, like yourself. Anyway, were you sent by Rias again, or is one of your own endeavors? Because I've got no time nor desire to play into another one of your schemes, especially now. Akino's smile died a little and she looked down a little, but then she got suddenly interested in lightnings that's around her. She raised a finger and was about to touch it, until Corvus called her on it. Touch the lightning and you are dead. Corvus said flatly, surprising Akino. This lighting may not possess a holy element in it, but it is powerful enough to kill most devils, angels or fallen angels, unless they possess a natural defense against it, or are in the same league as I am, and you are not even remotely in my league, despite potentially being the strongest devil in this town, with your lineage that is. Akino looked with surprise at him, as Corvus dispersed his lightnings. Akino asked with a serious tone, What do you even know about me? Akino asked him. More than enough, daughter of Barakil. Akino widened her eyes at this one. Honestly, I've expected a little more from a daughter of the single fallen angel that has beaten me in my own game. Have it not been for the holy element in his lightings, the outcome of our little incursion would have been different. Akino looked with shock, realizing that Corvus has actually fought her father by using lightnings. She at first thought that this was a lie, but after what he told her and the others, along with that display just the other minute, Akino was smart, and she had more than enough time to reevaluate her opinion on Corvus and what he was, so she decided to start over with him, and wished to get on his good side. All because she began to think a little more of him, and because he indeed looked quite stunningly. And aside from that, Akino believed that if she were to establish good relations with him, then he could help Rias with the situation that she was found in. She decided to say it directly. I actually wanted to talk to about something. Akino said directly. There is a good reason as to why Rias has decided to go behind everyone's backs with that scheme. Corvus looked at her questioningly, and simply sighed. Simon, we'll talk as we walk to my new teammate's home. Corvus and Akino went right towards the pair of waiting Corvus friends. Took you some time. It's Death noted, as she and Zoro regained the move, along with Corvus, and now joined to them Akino. Alright, start talking. Corvus told Akino, while his Death and Zoro also clicked in out of curiosity. Akino sighed and began talking. As you may have heard, Ria's parents and Lord and Lady Phoenix have arranged between her and Riser Phoenix a marriage. The conditions were made that Rias were to marry Riser after graduating college, but recently, Riser's parents have been pressing on an earlier date of marriage between Rias and Riser. Akino informed Corvus, who seemingly didn't change in face. Riser is also pressing on to it, and Lord Zeoticus, who is long-time and close friend of Lord Phoenix, seemingly also agrees with this, so the date of wedding has been moved and will take place much sooner, although there wasn't set a direct date yet. House of Phoenix? Is Death asked again. Isn't at the same house that kicked Ace out, because he is only half-devil and because his mother was just a human. Yeah, I think those are the same jerks. Zoro chimed in, turning to Corvus. Do you recall what he was like when we found him all those 10 years ago? Like it was yesterday. Alex sighed. Ace? Do you Ace Phoenix, the bastard son of Lord Phoenix and half-brother of Riser? Akino asked them. I thought that he long died, according to stories and rumors. That's what you heard. Corvus simply commented. Ace and I have met each other in Kyoto, when Yasaka, Zoro and I have come across him on the streets, where lived after his mother has died after a continuous illness. Yasaka took him without even knowing of his lineage, and a couple of months later he became the second member of my peerage, taking a position as my bishop. Knowing him, he isn't too happy with how those jerks have treated his mom. Wait, he is your bishop? Akino asked surprised. One of the members of House of Phoenix is your bishop? He never really was a member of House of Phoenix, but in basic terms, yes, he is one of us. Is Death confirmed? And after Corvus and myself, he holds the position of being third strongest fighter in our group, with his extreme efficiency with fire, seeming immortality, and that's not to mention his sacred gear. That guy is literally fire embodied and not someone to be taken lightly, even by us or ultimate devils. Just what kind of a monster is he? Akino asked curious. A nice and polite one, with one hell of an appetite, minor problem with sleep, and a familiar/girlfriend in form of a. Corvus stopped in his tracks, as he looked forward and then at the lamppost. Monet, why are you here? In the next instance, on top of lamppost was situated a beautiful-looking girl, dressed in a t-shirt and black shorts, with long green hair and golden eyes. The only differences with her looks from everyone else were the pair of white wings instead of her arms and bird-ass legs. Said girl looked down at the group and spoke up in calm and collected voice. Oh, I am just here taking my time and spreading the wings, if you know what I mean. She said with a smile, catching Akino's surprised look on her. What's the matter, sweetie? Never seen a snow harpy before? Snow harpy? Akino asked surprised. What are those? Some kind of rare subspecies of harpies? Not exactly, snow harpies are one of the tribes of harpies that exist. Corvus stepped in, looking at Monet. Unlike other tribes of harpies, snow harpies are generally isolationists, and very rarely leave their habitation territories. But they are perfectly capable of living in different environments, aside from extremely hot places, like deserts. Monet is one of the few snow harpies that actually ventured in an outside world and shortly ended up near Kyoto, nearly starved to death and with a broken wing. Ace saved the poor thing, and she has pledged herself to Ace and only him, as his familiar and as his one and only girlfriend. Wife. Monet corrected Corvus, blushing with the thought of Ace. But yes, I am my dearest beloved Ace's familiar and most loyal companion. And, answering your previous question, Corvus, I am here because Ace is also in the town, and he let me fly around, to spread the wings and get a closer look of the place. You know I do like to know where I am, and my wings needed some fresh air and wind between the feathers. Ace isn't co? Corvus raised a brow. When did he get here? And what is he even doing here? I thought IV sent him and the others a message with Akame and Kurom that they can head out on a vacation. Why would he come here? Oh, he is here because your darling Kunu has gotten all hot and bothered because of your absence. We've arrived just a couple of hours ago, and he went on to see the newest addition to the team. Monet said with a sly smile. She was so restless that she sent my dear Ace to see that you are safe and sound. That's not a very good way to treat your future wife, Corvus. So don't sweat it too much, ye say. Corvus and the company suddenly heard a new voice, seeing a pair of boys going through the street. Our group may be diverse and a little strange for the newbie to get used to, especially with all our job and adventures, but we aren't forceful. Care for each other and Corvus will move mountains for each and every one of us, if we get into trouble. So don't worry, you are in good company, kid. Thanks, Ace. I didn't know Corvus was such a great guy. Issei said impressed, looking on the road and seeing everyone else. Oh look, it's them. Said guy turned and looked in the same direction as Issei and smiled, seeing his team and girlfriend there. Corvus also smiled and chuckled a bit, looking a tall, black-haired young man, wearing a black shirt with blue ends, black pants and black hat, with two smiles on it, one happy and one sad. Gremory and his team were glad to see another member of their team here, especially considering that he is practically of the nicest persons in the world, and someone who go through hell for his friends. Porgas Ace, also known as Fire Fist Ace to those that cross him, or, as some might call him, Ace Phoenix, though he personally didn't like that one and like the one he got from his mom. Ace and Issei moved towards the group and he waved to them. Hey guys, I was just talking about you with Issei here. Ace said carefree, looking upwards and seeing Monet. Monet, how has the flight been? It was wonderful, darling. She said with smile. Such a nice weather, no strong winds or clouds. Perfect for relaxing flights, glad to hear it. Ace replied. Good to see you've already got to meet Issei, Ace. Corvus said. You could called and I would met you. Nah, no need to worry, Corvus. Besides, I wanted to see the town for myself and let Monet do some flying. Ace answered, seeing a new and unfamiliar face. Oh, pardon me, I didn't see you there for a moment. I am Porgasti, Ace, but you can call me Ace. It's nice to meet you. Akino smiled to him. I am Akino Himejima, queen of Rias Gremory and her close friend. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Ace Phoenix. At this very moment, Ace's smile almost disappeared and he looked at Akino with serious eye, while Monet was eyeing Akino with furious and almost feral look, which said that she was about to kill her right here and now. The only thing that really stopped her from lashing out for insulting Ace was the fact that it would only make this worse and Ace was a forgiving. If they made this mistake one time only. Ace corrected his hat and spoke. While it is my birth name, I've been stripped of it long ago, Ms. Himejima. And I would prefer if you referred to me as Porgasti, Ace or simply Ace, because I preferred to be known under my mother's surname. Ace calmly explained. Yes, I apologize. Akino bowed in apology. I was just discussing the situation between my king and the House of Phoenix, so it must be slipped out of my mouth by accident. That with an arranged marriage? Ace asked, getting a nod from her. I think that everyone has heard of it in Underworld and it isn't a big secret that Riser pushes the wedding date. No offense to you, but after what your king has schemed here, I think she and Riser do deserve each other. Akino here was actually explaining to us the reasoning of Rias' actions. His death chinned in, looking at the time. We better get going, we can talk on the move. Good idea. Corvus agreed, turning to Ace and Issei. Issei, if you don't mind, could tag along with us on this one? We are heading to the church to meet with fallen angels and get this whole mess over. Your date, Rainier, asked to look after you and I think she will be relieved to see you alive and well. Sure, I've got time. Issei agreed, actually wanting to see Yuma, or Rainier. By the way, my parents said that you don't need to come, cause Ace actually explained them the situation, saying that I was in trouble with local criminals trying to rob me and you've kinda saved me, so now they see as some kind of hero. Not too far from truth, if you look at it. Zoro noted. What about you, Ace? Are you coming with us? Sure thing, yes. Ace agreed and joined with Issei to the group as they head to church, looking at Monet. By the way, Monet, noticed anything strange while flying, just out curiosity? Only that the air around that church you've mentioned is a bit ionized, like from a lightning strike. Monet noted, spreading the wings and flying above them, covering herself in invisibility cloak spell. Like that time when you and Barakiel were dueling out on that island. Corvus nodded to that, checking out the magical presences of the entire town while they were walking towards their destination. As he suspected, there was a massive energy reading in the church, much more powerful than those two winged fallen angels and someone whom Corvus knew very well just from this energetic output, as he was just the person against whom he battled about a year ago, and lost just by a very small margin, despite leaving an island as nothing more but a fragments and desolate wastelands. That was the result of Corvus and Barakiel's duel of lightnings and despite his defeat, Corvus came to deeply respect one of the strongest fallen angels, as Barakiel recognized Corvus as one of his toughest and most powerful opponents. The whole reason as to why this whole duel started was because Barakiel suddenly appeared in Kyoto and requested Yasaka's and her faction's help in finding his missing daughter, Akino Himejima. Being familiar with the name and the status of its bearer, Corvus, however, suspicions of Barakiel's intentions and his future actions. So when Yasaka asked Corvus if he knew anything, Bloodraven decided not to reveal anything that he knew and instead said that as high-class devil and official representative of devils, he was in no right to reveal any information that might negatively affect devils or their allies in this area. Barrakiel took as a personal insult and challenged Corvus to an all-out duel, with the price for Corvus being able to learn how to produce holy element in his lightnings, while Corvus would reveal what he knew of Aquino if Barrakiel won. After grueling 12 hours of most intense lightning, Barrakiel, despite receiving some of the worst wounds he had in hundreds of years, claimed victory over Surzek's son, along with earning respect and admiration of Corvinus, returning it to the boy as well, with his offer of teaching him a holy lightning technique. But Corvus turned down the offer, saying that he'll learn it after he beats Barrakiel fair and square, which caused old veteran to smile and laugh. But as promised, Corvus kept his end of the deal and really did say everything that he knew of Aquino and her whereabouts, which was enough for an old fallen angel, and he left, asking Corvus to actually keep an eye on her, and keep Aquino from trouble, if he had the opportunity. While Corvus didn't like the idea of basically babysitting Rias and her peerage, he did observe things in Co from time to time, keeping old man up to date and telling him that Aquino was alright and healthy. And now, it seemed like that father and daughter were going to meet each other, and it wasn't going to be a pretty reunion. As the group moved through the streets, Aquino continued her defense of Rias and the reasoning of her actions, with the rest just listening. As it turned out, Rias seriously fears to be married to Riser and understands that the only possible way out for her might just be battling him in raiding game. Corvus was aware of this procedure, and it was a bit common in the underworld to participate in such games in order to get out of the marriage contracts, but in Rias' case, she is at a serious disadvantage, as Riser is already an established raiding game player, though he is famed for his arrogance and seeming self-belief of being invulnerable. Ace simply laughed at it, as he and everyone knew in Corvus' team knew that there isn't such thing as invulnerability or absolute immortality. As for Riser habits and arrogance, those were fairly common among the nobility, raised in silk and gold, and House of Phoenix' members are generally known in their youth their arrogance and ignorance. Ace was an exception to that, due to his upbringing. Aquino actually asked Corvus to help out with this situation, as he had an influence as an official ambassador and son of current Lucifer, but Corvinus simply stated that he had no wish nor reason to do so, as he merely wanted no part in politics of his family, all because of the fact that his grandparents and Rias have made it clear as day that he wasn't welcome in their household for long, because of his connection to Kyoto, future marriage to Kunu, and his seeming apathy and determination to increase the status of his house's position in the society. So Corvus decided to decline, even with Aquino continuously asking to rethink it. The group soon reached the entrance to the church in the woods and looked around, seeing the rundown place in bad shape and in need of repairs. But that wasn't what concerned the group right now. Corvus went on ahead and opened up the doors, stepping in with the rest of the group, while Monet decided to stay behind and was sitting on a tree, cloaked still. As Corvus and his friends entered, they quickly saw 4 fallen angels already waiting for them, 2 of whom were already familiar, Calwarner and Rainier, who looked with a relief at Issei. Another female fallen angel was a little blonde girl with a gothic Lolita style, and the last one was a gruff-looking fallen angel veteran with a beard, whose eyes were on Corvus and in the next second on Aquino. Corvus was the first one to speak up. I had a feeling that Azazel would send someone important, but I didn't think that he would send literally the only fallen angel I admire, Corvus said with a bit of smile on his face. It has been quite some time, Barrakiel. IV volunteered to go once IV heard that you were involved, Corvinus. Barrakiel talked in respectful manner. Azazel wasn't against it, as he is aware of our previous encounter and my respect towards you, so he saw it as a good thing if I were to conduct this talk between us. A good choice, indeed. Corvus agreed, looking at Rainier and then nodding to Issei to come closer. Rainier, as you've asked, IV saved Issei, though I apologize for turning him into devil against his wishes and will. I see and I thank you, Bloodraven. She bowed and looked at Barrakiel. Lord Barrakiel, if you do not mind, I would like to. I don't mind, Rainier, as long as Corvus is alright with leaving his pawn with you alone. Barrakiel understood what Rainier wanted. That's not my choice to make, but Issei. If he wants it, then I am not going to stand in the way. Corvus simply said, and afterwards Issei and Rainier went outside. Wow, a devil that actually cares for his servants as if they are his friends. PFT, what a joke, young blonde fallen angel said arrogantly, before receiving a nice slap in the back of the head from her older friend. Hey, what was that for? Keep quiet, Middlet. This devil is none other but Corvinus Gremory, the Blood Raven, Calwarner informed her younger colleague, which caused her to widen her eyes at the devil in a hat and marine coat. Hold a flipping second. That cool-looking guy is the one who killed the previous Red Dragon Emperor and nearly defeated Lord Barrakiel in single combat. She looked in shock, receiving a nod from Corvus in confirmation. Holy freaking hell. Can I get your autograph? She suddenly asked him up close, holding a pen and a notebook, looking at him with fangirl-esque eyes. Corvus was seemingly unfazed by such actions and simply took the pen and a notebook, writing down his signature and to whom it was addressed. After that he returned it to Middlet, who literally ran out of the church to, probably, show it to Rainier, with a subsequent loud thud being heard afterwards and Middlet returning with a bump on her head. Corvus simply dismissed it. Fame, what else can be said? He merely stated. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, should I? Probably not. Ace answered to that one, looking at Barracuda. Anyway, while I prefer not to butt into official business, but care to cut to the chase and let us all be on our way. Not exactly the most diplomatic approach, but only one of us here is a diplomat. Barracuda noted. Very well, I'll cut to the chase already. As of now, fallen angels withdraw all operations from this area and will not interfere in actions and business of devils any further, unless we agree them with your superiors. Concerning the fallen angels that carried out this action, namely Rainier, Calawarner and Middlet, with Donasek being put into confinement, in accordance to agreed conditions between Serzex and Azazel, are now officially servants to you, Corvinus. Barracuda ended. Corvus looked at both fallen angels and asked them out directly. Ladies, are you alright with that? Both of them were surprised. I kinda suck as a typical devil and have a reputation to not use any servants, so I am not going to abuse you or anything, but I know there is a matter of pride in this matter, so I am asking you about it. Both fallen angels girls looked at their new master and then at Ace, asking him simultaneously. Is this guy for real? Unfortunately, but yes. Ace sighed jokingly. This guy with full package of such annoying and useless qualities as being kind and loving to friends and loved ones, not being a manipulative jerk and having a decent sense of humor. You say like that as a bad thing. Corvus noted in joking manner, turning to Barracuda. Barracuda, it is all good and all, but I was informed that there was also someone else Azazel wanted me to take care of. Someone who has long blonde hair, green eyes and a sacred gear with strong healing properties for all races. Corvus smilingly turned to the column and spoke there. Asia, why are you even hiding there? After all, we are friends and you have saved my life a couple of months back. Behind the column came the said girl, looking shyly at the group and speaking up in a bit meek voice, while others in Corvus' group smiled to her. It is good to see you, Corvus, she said meekly. I am sorry for hiding there and for not telling you that I was in Japan. Asia, girl, you should have told us you were here. We would have met you and helped you out. Ace spoke up. By the way, how in the world did you end up with fallen angels? I was excommunicated for healing another devil a month ago, she said with saddened voice. And they found out that IV healed Corvus up, so I should be thankful that they didn't. Those religious pricks, Corvus cursed under his breath, turning to Barracuda, who looked at him questioningly. A couple of months back I got a bad injury after a run-in with one of high-level exorcists with the Zenith Tempest. Gave me and Ace a run for our money, but after he turned on his balance breaker, that S when everything went badly to us. Ace and I barely made out of that hell to a small abbey, where we ran across this lovely girl who treated our wounds with that twilight healing. Anyway, care to explain to me, Barracuda, how in the world did this lovely girl ended up with your company? That is unknown to me. He simply stated. Well, it doesn't matter now. Corvus flatly stated. Asia, quick question, wanna come live with me and my team? Sure, she said with a cute smile. Then it is settled. Gremory simply stated, with Asia now standing near him. Now, is there anything else you wanted to discuss with me, Barracuda, or we all can just go now? Barracuda simply shook his head and Corvus nodded to him, signaling the others that the business was done, and they could go on. As Corvus' group was already out of the church, along with Corvus' newest servants, Aquino, instead of leaving, looked at her father with despised look and then spoke up. Have nothing to say to me? She said with venom to her father. Corvus immediately understood that situation has just gone from normal to the same one as he and Ace were when faced Delio. He signaled his group to go on, while he decided to stay and see to it that there weren't any serious incursions. Barracuda, with a sad look, spoke up. Aquino, but he immediately was interrupted by Aquino. You probably already found yourself a new lover. So why even bother with already dead wife? She spit it out like poison. It is not like you cared enough to save her. Aquino! Corvus shouted at her, drawing her attention. Out. Now! But she met with furious glare of Corvinus and immediately decided not to argue and went outside, with Corvus still staying behind with Barracuda. Corvinus spoke up to his friend. Sorry for that one. Corvus sighed, speaking in serious tone. I could say that she didn't mean it, but I would be lying to you. I know. Barracuda stated with sadness. If anything, she is right. I would disagree with you. Corvus objected. I've done my research and I know that there was hardly anything you could do, seeing how Himejima clan was after your wife as head and you were on a mission. Unfortunately, Aquino doesn't understand that, or simply doesn't want to see it that way. Such wounds never heal easily, I know that well enough. Corvus already turned and was on his way. Best thing is to let time do all the healing for now. Corvus, may I ask you another favor? Barracuda wanted to ask Corvus, but he simply opened the door and spoke up. Don't worry, I'll keep that promise alright. I am a man of my word, after all. With that said, Corvus left the church. Outside of the rundown place stood furious-looking Aquino, who immediately demanded answers. What right did you have to speak like that, especially with him? Aquino demanded an answer. Do you even know who that man really is? Yeah, he is a man that asked me a year ago to look after his ignorant self-absorbed daughter that refuses to even admit who she really is, Corvus stated with serious tone, looking at her critically. I really did keep an eye out for you, and how were you doing, out sheer respect to your father. And just for your information, that man still mourns the death of your mother, Aquino, and I've seen him shed tears at her grave, while also telling her that he blames himself for all that happened both to you and your mother. Here is that for you. And what does that even mean, now that my mother is long dead? Aquino asked him. I wish I could rip those wings from my back, to get rid of those abominations. Corvus gritted his teeth and in one quick motion, slapped Aquino right in the cheek, but not even half as hard as he did with Rias. Aquino didn't even understand what happened, until she put a palm on her red cheek, looking with shocked eye on Corvus. He spoke up again. Listen up, Aquino, because I'll only say this one time. Corvus said to her. Those abominations, that you call them, are a part of you. They belong only to one person, and that is you. However, if you think that getting rid of them will make you feel better, I'll tell you from personal experience, it will not. You'll lose a part of yourself, a part of the same child Shuri Himejima loved and gave birth to. A part of the same girl that she protected and died for. Do you think that your mother would want her daughter to simply throw away something that made her who she is? To willingly give up on a part of your being? She would be disappointed and saddened, not glad. Aquino looked at him with widened eyes, as she understood finally what he meant, and Corvus continued with softer voice. Aquino, race and blood does not determine who we are, and not the choices we make towards those around us is what defines us. It is the choices that we make towards ourselves that define us. They are the ones that shape us. Whether you have white or black wings, only you can make those wings seen as your worst abomination, or you can turn them into your most beautiful feature. It all depends on how you look at it, really. And if you think that Rias is a good advisor, cause I know who has been feeding those ears with this nonsense, then ask yourself this: what is more important for you, an opinion of your king on a matter she doesn't fully understand, or what makes you who you really are? When you find the answer to that one and you want to talk about it, then I'll be nearby to listen. And with that said, Corvus left Aquino to her own thoughts, going back in the town. But before that he said one more thing. Also, he is still inside. I am not the one to tell you what to do, but if I were you, I would go talk to him, and after that you can make the real choice. It's best to first face your own demons before moving on in life, I would know. Aquino stood there, thinking over what he just said and what really it meant for her, her other half. Deep down inside of her soul, she was agreeing with Corvus, and what he said really did make sense. For many years she has been shackling herself, trying to be who she isn't, but all she managed to accomplish with this was that she simply despised herself just as much as her father. Aquino understood that her mother would never want that, and she would want her daughter to be who she really wants to be. But Aquino was, for the first time in many years, confused, not understanding what was best for her, and how to live. She decided that there was one way to find out. With a shaking hand she opened the door into church and stepped in, facing surprised Barakil. For the first time in many years, Aquino needed to talk to her father. Corvus' presidential suit. Nighttime. Corvus was just about finishing up writing the report in his suit, which he actually could afford to stay in for quite some time, thanks to him having a nice payment as a diplomat, and as a solver of complicated situations. He sent all of his teammates back in Kyoto, and told them to go ahead and enjoy their vacation, while he had some business to conclude in Ko, due to Issei's situation. That is why he was yet in this town and not with Kunu, who must be already getting into her heat period. Corvus actually wondered how she was doing and if she could hold her heat just a little bit, but he wanted her to get hurt because it was her first period of this kind. As he was pondering about it, Corvus suddenly noticed a familiar-looking magical circle, belonging to Yasaka's family, open up, from which emerged a young-looking kitsune, with long wavy blonde hair, a pair of fox ears and 9 tails behind her waving around. She had golden eyes and a beautiful face, along with a very good figurine, very well wrapped in beautiful soft kimono. She turned her gaze and faced Corvus with a relieved gaze. Corvus Kunu, Princess of Kyoto and Corvus' future wife, looked at him smiling. You are here. I was worried that you were already gone. Corvus simply smiled to her, getting up from the chair and coming closer to her and caringly caressing her cheek, in which she nuzzled. Gremory spoke in caring and loving voice to her. Sorry to make you so worried over me, Kunu. He embraced his future wife, who returned the affection. I should have called you and told you that I'll be staying here for a little longer earlier this day. No need to apologize, my love. She simply stated, breathing in his smell and nuzzling with half-lit eyes in his neck. You are here with me now. Kunu started speak in a little delusional voice, as she started to plant kisses on Corvus' neck aggressively. Now Gremory got what was going on with his future wife. Lady Yasaka warned him that Kitsune Yukai mark their mates during their first night together, and after that she will only ever make love with him. And when it came down to their first heat periods, there was literally nothing that could stop them from joining their chosen. And it seemed like Kunu was just like that, as she was literally in heat, with ragged breathing and trying to close the distance between her chosen and herself as much as she could. There was little to be said, and Corvus knew that this would happen sooner or later, and if he were to resist, then there would be serious and painful for Kunu consequences. And so, he embraced his kitsune for the full night, filled with passion and love, forgetting about all in this world. For only she mattered. His wife and his fate, his Kunu. Chapter 6. 1.5 days later. Corvus' presidential suit. The sunlight got inside of the room and was now persistently trying to make Corvus open up his eyes and rise up, which wasn't something that he wanted to do at the current moment, but seeing how he was raised to rise up early no matter what, he had little to no choice. So he opened up his eyes and sat up on the bed. He rubbed the back of his neck with his hand, which had several bite marks on it, which wasn't all too surprising to Gremry, considering what he and Kunu were doing throughout the night she arrived and the entire following day, since she got into her heat. And for every Yukai girl, first heat is a very wild and fierce period, during which their mating instincts kick in the hardest ever, and controlling them is practically impossible. The same was with Kunu, as she was acting like a wild animal in bed and seemingly showed no signs of slowing down until her hormones and drastically increased primal lust were satisfied and Kunu's heat was finally over. And now, she was also rising, eyes still looking a bit dizzy, as if Kunu was under the influence of some kind drug or intoxicated. It wasn't too far away from truth, and both of them knew of that. Lady Yasaka informed Corvus and Kunu of the effects that Yukai experienced during their first heat, making sure that both of her children, as she viewed Corvus more like her son than a simple guest, knew what they could expect in the future. That, along with certainly guaranteed pregnancy, as fertility of Yukais, especially Nikomata and Kitsune, was not just high, but leagues above of humans and most of the other supernatural races. It was a very well-known and proven fact that devils possessed a very low fertility. According to Ajuka's researches, it was due to devils' organisms developing with installed defect within DNA, which directly affects the fertility of the devils, rendering it almost non-existent, compared to other races. However, in case with Yukais, it was a complete opposite, as there hasn't been a single Yukai born with a low fertility, or without the ability to become pregnant. According to Ajuka's researches, Yukai's organism develops in a way that allows members of their race to become compatible with anyone and assure the successful consummation of a healthy child. During their heat periods, especially during their first one, Yukai's organism changes in order to ensure that Yukai becomes pregnant at a 100% chance after having an intimacy with a chosen mate, even if the chosen mate is a devil, like with Corvus. Gremry didn't know all details, but he knew that it had to do with hormones and the fact that when Yukai marks her mate, which happened with Corvus when he was just 11 and Kunu was 10, with Kunu biting Corvus' neck. At first, he took like an insult, and was pretty angry with her, pushing her away and refusing to spend time together as they like to do, while Kunu said that it came naturally to her, and that she couldn't help herself, and was understandably sad and cried in her room for a while. Yasaka, after hearing about this incident, immediately explained to Corvus the situation, along with informing his parents of what happened. And after that, Corvus apologized to Kunu for making her sad and they reconciled. Soon enough, in fact the next year, their relations moved up and they were beginning to view each other differently from simple best friends, but more and more closer. It was confusing to them both and awkward, not understanding what was going on and why they were suddenly thinking that way. Yasaka and Grayfia clearly saw their frustration and both managed to explain to both of them that they were growing up and Corvus was beginning to see Kunu not just like best friend, but also as a girl, and she was feeling the same. Soon enough, Corvus and Kunu accepted this fact, and ever since then, their relations only strengthened, and from an awkward attraction it developed to full-grown blossoming love they had right now. Kunu was Corvus' main support, and the one that understood him the most, always there to support or comfort when he needed it, while Corvus gave Kunu her inner strength and confidence she needed, as she was now more and more important figure in political life of Kyoto and the entire Japan. After Yasaka, it was now already clear as day who will take the position of leader of Kyoto. But that didn't mean that Yasaka herself was going to resign anytime soon, as she was still relatively young and had years and years until her middle age hits her, due to the fact that she inherited the position when she was younger than Kunu now, and wanted for her daughter to feel free of duties for now. Plus, Yasaka knew what would happen if she were to step down just now or any time soon, as there were a couple of persons that would be glad to appropriate her position for their own benefits, instead of benefit of Yukais in general. So she was staying, along with the fact that she would be bored out of her mind with nothing to do, and the rest of Kyoto wouldn't simply be the same without her active rule. Kunu rubbed her eyes and yawned as she saw Corvus smile, making her smile as well, but then she saw just in what shape was their bed and room as well, along with so many numerous scratches on Corvus' body and especially his back. Kitsune, while having already cooled off after her heat, retained all of her memories of the state, and was now recalling just what they were doing and how they were doing it. Just a single thought of that made Kunu red as a tomato, while Corvus simply sit closer to her and kissed in the lips, hugging his beloved fox. "Slept well?" he asked her caringly. "Yes," she simply answered, having calmed down a little. "I am sorry. I don't know how, but I just..." "Hey, no need to apologize, love," Corvus assured her. "We both knew that this was going to happen and there was no stopping it. I will admit that I was a little surprised that it happened sooner than we both expected, but overall, I would lie if I say I didn't enjoy it. You need to take charge of things more often." He teased her, making Kunu's ears twitch, and her tails swirl a little. "I more prefer when you are the one guiding me," she admitted with a smile, resting her head on his scarred shoulder, seeing the marks of battles all over his torso. "So many scars I still shudder when you get a new one after a battle." Corvus had nothing to reply to this one. He only caringly hugged her and brought her frame closer to his. Over the years, Corvus got more than enough of scars on his body of all shapes and sizes. Cuts, burns, gun wounds, claws, you name it. Chances are, Corvus has this type on his body. The biggest and one of the worst of his scars that healed up much slower than others was on his left arm, which was a deep and long claw scar, which was inflicted by Red Dragon Emperor, along with a really bad burn on the same arm. It was nearly scorched black by his flames, and with wounds made by claws, there was a very high risk of removing an arm completely. But thanks to Yasaka and Kunu's tending, Corvus managed to maintain it, though it was scarred terribly above the hand, but it wasn't much of an issue to Kunu or others. They were glad that Corvus was alive and well. Kunu was simply listening to her beloved's heartbeat, when they both suddenly saw a very familiar white magical circle, indicating that they are about to be visited by Corvus' mother. Fortunately enough, after the last time she found both of them in their birthday suits, Gremry developed a special spell just for these cases, snapping his fingers. When Grayfia finally arrived in the room, she found them dressed in their usual attires, with Corvus dressed in a black shirt and pants, while Kunu preferred to dress in her white kimono. Corvus' mother was fast to talk, not even waiting for them to speak up. Corvus, Kunu, do you two even realize just how much you've made me and Yasaka worry? She was speaking in an accusing tone, until she finally began to look around. We were worried that something had happened when Yasaka told me that Kunu disappeared, and Grayfia finally examined the room and bed. What in the world happened here? Mom, the thing is, Corvus was about to explain, but Kunu took the initiative, standing up and bowing before her. Lady Grayfia, I am terribly sorry for worrying you and my mother. Kunu spoke in an apologetic voice. It is my fault for this. On the night when I disappeared, my instincts suddenly kicked in and IV teleported to Corvus too. Grayfia finally grasped the situation and decided to stop her daughter-in-law before speaking more. Oh, my apologies, I didn't mean to disturb you two or cause any inconvenience. She spoke up, looking at her son. Yasaka did tell me that it could happen spontaneously and almost always without warning. We were just surprised that you both suddenly disappeared without warning anyone. Yeah, sorry about it, Mom. Corvus said apologetically, standing near Kunu. We'll inform Lady Yasaka about what happened, and, after IV finished up things here, we'll be on our way to Kyoto, and after that we'll be in my residence. No need, I'll call her myself. Grayfia spoke up. However, there is something that I wanted to discuss with you, Corvus. May we take it to guest room? Both of them nodded and they all went outside, with Corvus and Kunu sitting on the coach, with Grayfia sitting in chair. Grayfia was the first one to speak up. I understand that after everything that happened here and before you would want nothing to do with Rias and her affairs. But Grayfia sighed and looked up at both. Corvus, what do you know about the marriage contract between Rias and Riser Phoenix? Kunu seemingly stiffed up once she heard the name of Rias. She still held a grudge against her for all those jokes and laughter on the announcement party, along with her attitude towards her chosen. Corvus noticed how Kunu became slightly angry about it and simply hugged her, speaking up. Only what everyone heard of already and some rumors. Corvus answered. You know well enough that my grandparents Dante like to involve me in the dealings of the house, and I personally Dante want to be dragged into it. Not after how they showed so much disrespect to Kunu and her mother on the announcement party. Lady Grayfia, is there any reason to bring it up? Kunu asked her directly. If you do not mind me asking, of course. Of course not, Kunu. Grayfia smiled to her. I meant not to cause any discomfort to you, my dear. Surzex and I still can forgive her for that scandal, and we both see you as our daughter, so I am sorry if I caused some confusion or discomfort. Still, there must be a reason to bring this up. Corvus guessed. Let me take a guess. As a punishment for her actions, Ria's wedding has just been moved and now Riser is pressing on an immediate marriage. Am I wrong? No, all true. Grayfia smiled to her son. After discussing the matter with Seraphal, Surzex decided that it would be best to remove her from the position of governor and let her be married sooner. As for Sona, she'll be stripped of her right to participate in any raiding game this year. Because of that, Lord Gremry has conducted negotiations with House of Phoenix, to inform them of what happened and the decision made by Surzex. After that, he asked me to act as a mediator of the meeting between Riser and Rias, which will happen today and will take place in Occult Research Club's building. And where do I fit in? Corvus bluntly asked his mother. My job here is done, and if there's still a matter with those rumors that were the official reason for me to be here, I believe IV provided more than enough proof to confirm it. Yes, what other reason aside from helping Issei Hayato is there for Corvus? Kunu honestly didn't know what to think of it all as well. Surzex and I think the same way, I assure you. Grayfia agreed. However, Lord Zioticus and Lady Venelana requested that Corvus would also attend that meeting. When I asked why would you need to be present, they refused to directly answer my question, stating that it would be productive if he were to attend it as well. Surprisingly, they also said that Kunu should also attend it, to use this opportunity to restore good relations between Rias and you. Kunu was surprised to hear it. I personally don't think that it would be a good idea for you to attend this meeting, Kunu, but this is your choice, dear. Still, the way they informed me about it doesn't sit well with me, and the fact that you, Corvus, were also requested to come also unnerves me. You and me both, mother. Corvus agreed. Anyway, IV got no other choice but to obey them for no, since it's a request from the head of the house. I'll accompany you, love. Kunu firmly stated, putting her hand in his. Lady Grayfia, could you inform my mother that I'll be back in Kyoto soon enough, after this meeting concludes? Grayfia nodded to that one and rose up, casting a magical circle. The meeting shall take place 2 hours later. I'll see you there. With that, Grayfia stepped into the portal and disappeared. Corvus, what do you think they need us both there for real, anyway? Kunu asked him. I honestly have no idea, but something tells me that this isn't about you and Rias restoring relations. Corvus knew this. Whatever game they wish to play, I've no doubt that I am already a part of their grand scheme, even if I know not a single thing about it. Occult Research Club. 2 hours later. As Grayfia had asked them, Corvus and Kunu arrived on time through a magical circle. Corvus dressed in his usual attire, complete with his great sword on the back, but without his 2 additional swords, for he decided to leave them behind, feeling that he wouldn't want to use them and if anything, he could handle some upstart noble arrogant bastard with only his powers just alright. Even if Phoenix family had their fabled immortality, this little factor never stopped Corvus from defeating several seemingly invincible enemies who were in their own league, and a real-life Phoenix was also among them. As the couple stepped out of the portal, they were immediately eyed by Rias and the rest of her peerage, along with Grayfia. Rias was the first to speak up. UV finally arrived. She spoke up, looking at Kunu. Kunu, it has been some time, hasn't it? I hope you are in good health. I am Rias. Kunu replied, having no desire to speak with her. And I personally would prefer not meeting for some time more, considering how our last meeting ended. Lady Kunu, that is a little harsh to say, wouldn't you agree? Akino spoke up, getting Kitsune's attention. I am Akino, Lady Rias Queen. We've met on your announcement party. I hope you remember our meeting there. I remember that event very well, along with you, Akino. Kunu sharply replied. I recall especially well how you and several other devils were making jokes about me and my mother, along with the rest of my race. That scandal can hardly be forgotten, wouldn't you agree, Lady Kunu? I assure you that we meant no harm or to insult you any manner. Akino truly wished no harm to her and her mother. However, I understand that I've insulted you and your mother in a bad manner, and I ask you of your forgiveness. She bowed her head before her and Corvus, surprising everyone, even Rias. Akino, why are you apologizing to them? Rias directly asked her. It was nothing more but an innocent joke, so there is no point to ask for their forgiveness. Rias, honestly, you could learn a thing or two about humility. Kunu directly stated, looking at Akino. Of course, Akino. I hold no ill towards you and I am sure that Corvus feels the same way. Yes, I am of one mind with Kunu. Corvus spoke, seeing Akino raising her head. Now, when is the betrothed arrives, or has he decided to be fashionably late? Lord Riser should be arriving any minute now. Grayfia stated, when behind her suddenly opened up a portal, from which erupted uncontrollable flames. Kunu and Corvus weren't all too impressed, as they immediately saw it as nothing more but a poor way to flash around. A very poor way, once they heard the name Phoenix coming from the flames. Once the flames dispersed, everyone in the room saw in the center of previously erupted flame a blond young-looking man, dressed in fashionable clothes, oozing the aura of arrogance and selfishness. Corvus could already tell who it was and from the very first time he didn't like him, from the way he stood, looked and even felt like. Corvus always had a problem with people who believe themselves to be more than they actually are, especially in terms of power, which very often resulted in Corvus battling with them and beating the living daylight out of their bodies. Something was telling him that he'll have to correct this guy in something through brute force. As for Kunu, she shared the thoughts of her beloved, with the only difference being that she had nasty feeling about him being someone who has absolutely no shame towards others, especially girls. She only hoped that she wouldn't have to witness him being rude to her or Corvus, or even worse, flirting or directly approaching her with suggestive manner. And if that were to happen, then Corvus most certainly wouldn't hold anything back against someone like this person. After several seconds, Riser Phoenix has finally decided to announce his arrival, and Riser has arrived. He finally turned to face angry-looking Rias. I've come to see you, my lovely Rias. As Corvus and Kunu feared, he was an absolute douchebag and just from the first words, it was already clear that he will be a problem to them. Corvus and Kunu decided to simply sit on the coach, along with Rias and Riser, who sat right in front of them, while Riser was practically molesting Rias right in front of Corvus and Kunu, which was a disgusting sight to see for them. Corvus decided to stop it, before he would kill him. Would you mind stopping this? Corvus asked Riser in serious tone, finally getting Riser to notice him and Kunu. It is no brothel, but a school after all. If you are so desperate to have some time with her, then go and find a room to do whatever debauchery you prefer. I am sorry, but I don't recall asking for your opinion. Riser arrogantly stated. And who are you, to be exact? Corvinus Gremry. Corvus named himself, making Riser arrogantly chuckle at him. I assume you already heard my name. Well, who doesn't he know the name of son of the current Lucifer? Riser asked him, especially considered what kind of a failure he is as a devil, living among animals lustful for men and even calling his furry mistress a future wife. This direct statement was more than enough for Kunu to look in shocked eyes at Riser, seeing how he just directly insulted her mother, and her entire race in its entirety, along with her future husband as well. Grayfia found extremely difficult to control her emotions as she heard such talk right here, considering that this arrogant bastard has just insulted her son and her future daughter-in-law and a very close friend of hers. She sighed and spoke in irritated voice. Lord Riser, please refrain from insulting Lady Kunu and her people. Grayfia demanded, hearing only an arrogant chuckle coming from him. And do please refrain from insulting my son in such manner. Oh please, as if that weakling can do anything to Riser. Phoenix arrogantly stated, rising up and coming closer to Kunu and leaning in front of her. He is no interest to me anyway, but such beauty, what is your name, my beautiful vixen? Kunu felt extremely uncomfortable with Riser looking with such look at her. Corvus was practically at his limit, and decided to teach that idiot a lesson. In the next second, Riser's smirk seemingly disappeared and he suddenly began clutching his throat, feeling incredible pressure put on him, which was increasing by second and most cold wind moving through his body. He took several steps away from Kunu, until this stopped with him. As it stopped, Riser looked with furious look at Kunu and spoke in angered manner. You damned witch! Just who Riser was immediately put into the same situation as he was, only now the pressure and cold became far greater. Corvus calmly rose up from his seat and closed the distance between Kunu and Riser, standing now in front of the arrogant devil. Even though he wore his signature hat, it was clear as day that Corvus was pissed as hell off by such rudeness and arrogance displayed by Riser. It was a new level of arrogance and stupidity for Corvus, to directly insult him, his future wife, his parents, though indirectly. He spoke up in cold and concentrated voice. Listen up, Riser. Corvus managed to get his full attention just by a few words. I personally have no qualms about someone insulting me, because I simply don't give a damn about it, along with some upstart arrogant pricks such as yourself showing off like a damned model on a fashion show. However, what I absolutely hate is when the likes of you not only have the gale to insult people they don't even know a thing about, but think that just for who they are they can do whatever the hell they want and think that it is alright for them. Newsflash. It is wrong and a very bad decision. Riser was starting to lose the last remaining air in lungs. Now I'll release you from my hold and you apologize to my bride for all that you've just said, and if you don't, then I'll sure that you regret every second of this decision. And believe me when I say this, my mother here is not currently the most dangerous person in this room, because she is instructed not to break you. Unfortunately for you, I was given no such instruction and I can turn your entire body into a mush in a matter of a second. And with that Corvus released Riser from his grip, making him cough and inhale the air. After that, as Riser managed to regain his grip, he looked with a raged look on a calm, yet serious face of Corvus. He spoke up again. You know, just for that little trick, I can more than justifiably kill you right on the spot. Riser threatened him. To insult a member of a House of Phoenix in such a manner and suffocating him in front of so many witnesses, not even your dear old daddy won't save you, or your mother here. I would like to see you try. Just bear in mind that I have more than enough power to kill you with my soul grip alone, Corvus said with no hint of cockiness in his voice, only steel facts. And this isn't even my strongest technique, and I possess more than enough power, intellect, and experience to kill someone like you without breaking a sweat, because after the opponents I've faced you hardly impress me. Riser literally growled at the seeming arrogance Corvus showed to him, a member of House of Phoenix, and right in front of the people, when it is his place and time to show them that he is the one in power and control here. Instead, this upstart steals the spotlight from him with this cheating technique. Well, it seems like it's time he learns his places. Riser arrogantly smirked and looked directly at Corvus. That's some tough talk, coming from my future brother-in-law. Corvus raised a brow at that one. Though Lord Zeoticus did tell my father that you have a rather sharp tongue and attitude problems, especially when it comes to submitting to the will of your stronger and superior, such as me. That caught everyone off guard, especially Kunu and Grayfia, who weren't expecting to even hear such kind of talk here, much less from Riser. Serzek's wife was more than sure that her son wasn't in any way connected to House of Phoenix, much less engaged to any member of the said house. She and Serzek would be been the first ones to be notified about, considering that even if Serzek bears the name of Lucifer now, he was still a father to Corvus, along with Grayfia being a mother to him. As for Kunu, she knew well enough that Corvus would never go behind her back or insult her in such low and insidious manner. Even more, she was believing that Riser was just provoking Corvus and nothing more, believing that through this he could hurt her beloved morally, if he couldn't do it physically. And Kitsune knew the best that this only lead to a single conclusion. Care to repeat that, because I don't think that I got it right. Corvus was really in the dark with that one. Just who in the world told you that we are brothers-in-law? I never even met a member of your house, much less was engaged to one, especially considering that my actual bride and beloved is sitting right here. So, unless you want to have your organs rearranged in the most dysfunctional way possible, start explaining this idiotic joke of yours. I would like to know just what are you talking about, Lord Riser? Grayfia demanded an answer from him. Were you not informed too, Lady Grayfia? Riser said arrogantly and prideful of himself and his house. I would assume that you would know, seeing how your son and my little sister are now officially engaged, and he shall become a member of my illustrious house at the same time as my beloved Rias. Just yesterday, Lord Zeoticus and my father came to a very productive and positive agreement between our houses, which will strengthen our bond even further. Lord Zeoticus, along with appointing a new date of the wedding, has also announced to my family that Corvinus' engagement to this fox has been officially denounced by him and his wife, and that they now wish to see my beautiful younger sister Ravel as his wife. He even proposed that they be married the same day as Rias and I. Naturally, how could my father say no to that, even if Sirzek's older son is a well-known failure as a devil and a weakling? Corvus' eyes widened at what he just heard, along with everyone else, especially with Kuna. They just learned the most shocking news. Corvus has been now engaged to Riser's younger sister, without even knowing of this. But what stunned him even more was the fact that his grandparents have officially denounced his engagement to Kunu, not caring for the opinion of others or even bothering to inform him, or his parents. No, they simply dismissed it like a minor nuisance, and decided to make Corvus useful as their own tool in such way. They didn't even bother asking an opinion of Corvus, Sirzek, Grayfia, nor did they care about the feelings of Kunu and Yasaka. They didn't give a damn about all of it. Those people, those bastards, whom Corvinus considered to be family and respected and loved, they simply went and sold him out. Like a cattle, he had no words to express all of the fury and hatred he harbored now for them. To do such a thing, for a house of Gremory to degrade to such state, it was sickening and infuriating. Kunu was in a state of shock, as she didn't even expect to hear such terrible thing, as she believed that Zeoticus and Venelana were getting along with her. But this it was the lowest move possible, the most vile and horrible way they could insult her, and it worked. They didn't care how kind and humble Kunu was, accepting their accusations and criticism and trying to please them, along with her mother trying to get along with them. But this nobody has ever insulted her in such violent way possible and betrayed her trust. It drew tears from Kunu's eyes and sobs, which immediately were heard by Corvus, who immediately turned to her, and Grayfia, who was just as shocked as Kitsune. Grayfia was about to say something, but Kunu decided not to listen to anyone. Instead, she opened a portal and disappeared from the room. Corvus and Grayfia already knew where she went, or more correctly to whom. Infuriated, Corvus turned to a grinning Riser, who spoke up. "It seems like that little furry mistress of yours decided to leave us early." He waved his hand carelessly. "Such a shame. I was interested in finding out if her kind is as lustful as they are rumored to be, and that was the last straw that broke Camel's back." In a single second, Corvus lost his control for a single second, but it was more than enough to send Riser Phoenix flying through the cabinet with more traumas, wounds and burns than any mortal is capable of handling. Only Grayfia understood what just happened to Riser, and it was sheer miracle that he survived, as his frame was regenerating already in the other end of the hall, with his flames blazing. She also saw the undisputed fury and anger in her son and heard as he spoke up. "Mother, where is that bastard right now?" Grayfia already knew whom he meant by it. He and Lord Phoenix were planning on visiting Sirzek. They should be there already. Grayfia saw how her son already created a magical circle. "Corvus, what are planning to do? One thing, that I should have done a very long time ago." And with that said, Corvus vanished from the building. What if neglected son of Grayfia in high school DxD? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.